us, and we had the courage to lead. We made promises. We made promises to the people of Florida, and we have delivered on those promises. And so today, after 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, thanks to the overwhelming support of the people of Florida, we not only won election, we have rewritten the political map. Thank you for honoring us with a win for the ages. I want to thank all of our campaign staff, from campaign manager Janera Peck down. This was the best run campaign in the history of Florida politics. I want to thank all of our wonderful volunteers who worked so hard to get out the vote. Your support means the world to Casey and I. God bless you and thank you.
Jack Tomczak, you used to do this for a living. Technically, you still do for a really tiny part of your living. You are going to go out on a little longer limb, a slightly longer limb, about your predictions this evening.
My predictions this evening?
You got some predictions? You
came right into the room, Jack.
I think we're going to pick up 17 seats in the Minnesota House.
17 seats. What do you base this on? Because this
we're curious.
Private conversations.
Word from God, perhaps? What are you talking
a
about
source who I swore I would not mention.
Okay. Insider information.
All right. So let's talk about the statewide races. That's the big event. Obviously, we have not won a statewide race in Minnesota since 2006, since Tim Pawlenty. Conventional wisdom says if we're ever going to do it, this might be the night here. Jim Schultz has been polling exceptionally well, even in the polls that had Scott Jensen down and out 2 months ago here. Brad Carlson, your opinion about the polling you've seen so far, what do you think about the statewide races?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want my predictions, I think that we are going to finally break through. I feel like I say it every weekend. It's been since 2006 since Republicans have won a statewide race here in Minnesota. I think we get Attorney General Jim Schultz will emerge victorious, and Auditor Ryan Wilson will also emerge victorious. The first time Republicans would win multiple statewide races since... Anybody know? Trivia?
This would have been 2002, I believe.
2002. They got 3?
That's right.
They got 3 in 2002.
It's been a while.
That's right. So we are privileged to be joined right now here on the stage with Alpha News and AM 1280 The Patriot by Minnesota Republican Party Chairman Dave Hann. Dave, welcome. Mr. Chairman, sir. Former Senator, welcome back to the
He's
broadcast.
earned that title. Mr. Chairman it is. Yes, sir.
That's right.
To be here. It's quite a night.
Well, what are you hearing so far? What's your sense of things?
Well, we haven't heard anything official from results in Minnesota yet, but the polls just closed, so we don't expect to hear anything right away, but soon.
Now, we heard of a little issue up in Chisago County. Has that been rectified, to your knowledge, Chairman?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently there was an issue with the machine. It was like a folder-like ballot, so it wasn't your conventional ballot, and apparently the machines weren't able to handle it, from what I understand, so they had to bring up a different machinery to Chisago County, because the wait was out the door for like an hour and a half. So
you had candidates rushing up there to say, hey, don't get out of line, everybody stay in the
as long as you're in line by 8 o'clock, folks, you will get the chance to cast your ballot.
What are you hearing just for turnout in Minneapolis and St. Paul? We've heard throughout the day that the numbers seem to be low. Is that because people voted early, but even though the numbers there don't seem to support?
No, we've been watching the early balloting for the last couple of weeks, and it is lower than it has been in Hennepin and Ramsey County.
Really?
It's hard to tell, who the voters are when they do early balloting, of course, but we do have in our database identified voters, Republican, Democrat, and typically the identified Democrat early voters outpace the Republican identified. But this year it's the other way around. The identified Republican early voters are outpacing the Democrat identified early voters. So
out in voting today in Washington County, normally no line. There was a long line today when I was voting, and outpacing, I believe, the presidential election where I voted last.
And I, on the other hand, vote in perhaps the most blue district in all of Minnesota, the Midway. And 2 years ago, the line at 7 a.m., which is when I got in line, was halfway across the playground, with the help of a little social distancing, obviously. But today, got right in there, in and out at 7:15 in 5 minutes, which, if you're talking about a blue district, is mighty good news, all in all, I think,
right.
Senator Handel.
Well, and I think in the last couple of weeks, as we've gone around with the Jensen campaign and others and done events, the enthusiasm has been very, very strong for those events. And we've been watching the Democrat events, and their turnout is much lower, and they seem to be kind of sad. So I don't know what that means, but it feels good.
We can speculate, but yeah, fair enough.
Well, and the Trafalgar poll, I don't know how much stock you place in public opinion polls, but we can talk about when we come back here. We got to take a break.
Right.
By the way, we are live at the DoubleTree in St. Louis Park at the GOP Victory Party. Tonight's broadcast brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Chairman Hand, we'll have to talk again at some point.
We will. I appreciate your being here. Thanks for covering it.
You bet.
All right.
We'll be right back. Go nowhere. It's the Northern Alliance Radio Network and Alpha News, AM 1280 The Patriot. Go nowhere.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
You know, if you feel like you're stuck with a healthcare plan that isn't affordable, or you simply just don't like how it works, well, right now, during open enrollment is a perfect time to switch to MediShare. The typical family saves $500 a month when they join MediShare, and what's more, they like it. MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate compared to the industry. That's double. And MediShare is the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. It's been around for 30 years. It's shared more than $4 billion in healthcare bills. And here's why now is the perfect time to make the switch. If you join MediShare Complete by January 1st, they will waive your new member fees, and you'll save an additional 10% off your first year. No fee to join, 10% off every month for all of next year. But again, it's a limited time offer. So yeah, you're not stuck. You've got a great option. Call now, 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE, 844-94-BIBLE.
AM 1280 The Patriot.
Soaking up the sun in Fiji, walking through the sculpture garden in Minneapolis, or standing in awe at the Grand Canyon. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280 The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies. They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-506-5803. 800-506-5803. Don't wait. Call now. 800-506-5803. 800-506-5803.
As Winston Churchill said, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, and hope. Hi, this is Andrew Parker with the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. Join me every Sunday at 4 p.m. for the Victory Hour, when we will talk politics, Israel, and the law.
The Victory Hour, Sunday afternoons at 4, here on The Patriot.
I'm impressed with my attorney, Bernie.
This is Dennis Prager from Mathnasium, the Math Learning Center. As you know, I prefer clarity to agreement. Being able to understand math is often key to achieving clarity. But with 6 out of 10 high schoolers not being proficient at math, students could be at a great disadvantage. Mathnasium helps students reach their potential to understand and even enjoy math, whether they're starting out far behind or already doing well. Using a customized one-on-one approach, Mathnasium educates and inspires students, helping them develop number sense. Math math fluency and confidence that equips them for success in school and for the rest of their lives. Mathnasium also provides homework help so students can better understand and finish it successfully on their own, freeing you up to focus on other aspects of parenting. Give your child a life-changing math learning experience. Contact one of the Mathnasium centers listed on the Patriot's advertiser page at am1280thepatriot.com and receive $50 off your enrollment. Mathnasium, changing lives through math.
Hi, I'm Anthony Commerce with Commerce Water. A year ago, we introduced wet technology into our softeners. It's exclusive to Commerce. Since then, customers have saved an average of 700 gallons of water and over 300 pounds of salt each year. And you can too. Go to commerce.com.
In this economy, we all need as much help as we can get. If you own a business, you're looking for ways to survive. Innovation refunds can help. Small business owners, please listen up. You could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. Now, this isn't a loan. There's no payback. It's a refund of your taxes. Go to getrefunds.com. Their tax attorneys are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program and have already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. Go to getrefunds.com. They do all the work with no charge up front. They simply charge a percentage of the cash that they get for you. Go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions.
What hands say? I couldn't hear anything.
Now, this payroll tax refund is only available for a very limited amount of time.
stuff.
So check it out right away. Getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World, Northern Alliance Radio Network, AM 1280 The Patriot, and Alpha News, live at the Doubletree at the GOP Victory Party, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Service. Liz Collin from Alpha News, during the last segment where we were talking with Chairman Han, a little pandemonium broke out. Newly re-elected Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida gave a bit of a chat with the crowd here, and it was rather well received, Liz.
Yeah, I think his words definitely spoke to this audience as well. But just a couple quotes from that speech, Mitch. He said, "We will never surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die," and that got the crowd all riled up here tonight.
You could tell, yes, he has a way of working in the crowd, and I am looking forward to seeing how he builds his own campaign up in the as we work up towards the big announcement, we're told, next week, a week from tonight, where former President Trump is apparently going to have a big announcement. What could it ever be about? I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen here, but it's that I think we're seeing the beginning of the next election cycle teeing up already here, Jack Thompson.
He announces that he's in, right?
Yes.
He's not going to announce that he's not in this early. If he were not in, he would stretch it out till next year. So he's got to be announcing he wants to get ahead of DeSantis and get the money that before DeSantis gets those commitments, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he did a rally last evening in Ohio.
That made me nervous.
He was teasing a big announcement, and it's just like, if he announces he's running in 2024 tonight, it's going to take completely away from the GOP's closing messaging on Tuesday morning, because the networks are only going to cover Trump announcing. Thankfully, he did not announce last evening.
And it couldn't have motivated our people any more than they are, but it really would have motivated the unmotivated Democrats who sat home today. So I'm glad he didn't.
Right. So let's talk about some of the local races we're watching here. Let's start with you, Brad Carlson. Anything particular you're focusing on here as we go through the state races, other than the obvious state office races, the governor, lieutenant governor, state auditor, and so forth?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been keeping an eye upon some of the districts, particularly House and Senate districts, where the most money was being spent.
Oh.
And we're talking, and Brian Bax at NPR did a nice job putting together some numbers, combined independent expenditures spent in each district. Now, this is, of course, monies outside of this specific candidates' campaigns. And Senate District 36, that was redistricted to like Vadnais Heights, North Oaks, Circle Pines, Lino Lakes. That's Roger Chamberlain. Roger Chamberlain was redistricted. He's an incumbent senator. Close to $1.5 million has been spent combined on the behalf of Roger Chamberlain and his DFL opponent, Heather Gustafson, for this Senate seat. Because it's, a first-ring suburban area Senate seat, which the DFL has really made a lot of inroads in the suburbs the last couple of election cycles, so they want to obviously keep that going. And then you have up at St. Cloud, where incumbent DFLer Eric Putnam was redistricted into Senate District 14 against Tama Tice, who was a former House member, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's number 2 for 1.3 million.
Wow.
So races like this, I'm keeping an eye on it. And number 3, Tom Dipple, who came on the broadcast on Sunday, he's going against DFLer Judy Seeberger. This is an open seat, and Tony Juergens, former House member out of Cottage Grove, who lost to Dipple in the primary, endorsed Dipple's DFL opponent in the general election, if you want to kind of know where the state of the GOP and the GOP infighting is. That kind of stuff is still going on. So that's the
We do it
most.
better than anybody else.
We're number one. We're number one in something here in this state. So Jack Tomczak.
We should have Vince McMahon running the GOP instead of Dave Hand. Sometimes I have to think. Jack Tomczak, what are you watching?
I'm watching my crumpled up piece of paper that has all the House races on it. I keep
your hand,
checking
you are
it.
Clutching.
I need to learn the results and then mark them down on my sheet, but I keep looking back at my sheet as if I'm going to learn something from it. We need results to come in. I'm getting jittery, nervous, weird.
To be perfectly fair, your piece of paper doesn't have any worse performance than any of our online sources here at the DoubleTree.
Right, it's very accurate.
Yeah.
You're
fine.
So Liz Collin, I would imagine you're following the race in the northeastern suburbs of St. Paul fairly closely after the events of this last couple of years.
Yeah, I think John Thompson has been eliminated. He hasn't made it back to Hugo for where he represents.
You're familiar
St. Paul.
with John Thompson,
He'll be done now.
No,
he'll be done now in St. Paul.
I think they've been keeping him in the freezer morgue for the last 2 years, but not successfully entirely.
Pete Stauber, watching that race out where I'm from. Great guy, law enforcement supporter, and I think he'll have a pretty clear path to victory. Seems to be very popular out there. I think another issue to talk about is just the issues. Again, we saw this summer this narrative around abortion. Jim Schultz up on camera now. We'll have him here shortly. That really changed. I mean, inflation, the economy, crime, huge for Minnesota residents right now.
Absolutely. And by the way, Pete Stauber listed as almost a slam dunk by all the major polling services.
And how bizarre is that?
I know.
That we look at CDA, we're like, well, that's a gimme.
Yeah.
When 10 years ago or 20 years ago, that certainly was not the case.
First results are in, and Scott Jensen, 58%, Tim Walz, 38%. I haven't seen from the monitor how many precincts are reporting. I can't imagine.
1%.
1%.
With 1% reporting. So let's wrap it up, I think.
We're done.
All right.
We're done.
Claim victory, go home.
Thanks for joining us.
Jim Schultz, 78. Keith Ellison, 22. Again, 1% reporting. Kim Crockett, 77. Steve Simon, 23.
Let them have their moment.
I urge you to remember that these results are going to change considerably over the course of the evening here.
And if they do,
Ryan Wilson, 77. Julie Blaha, 21%. It's sure fun to kick the evening off like that. You can hear the crowd is fired up, just a tad. And Brad Finstead, similar margin, 77 to 22 in the 1st Congressional District over Jeff Ettinger. That's a district that's been considered fairly safe Republican seat by most of the polls I've seen so far. Let's talk about the elephant and the donkey in the room. Still no results in for the Craig Kistner race in CD1, 2 rather here. But any thoughts about that? I've had my own, which I'm dying to get to. But let's start with you, Jack Tomczak.
I think that Angie Craig is going to be tough to beat. I've watched her TV ads, the one where she's driving her Jeep around. I'm a Jeep owner. And the authenticity of this woman is off the charts. She sat down and had a beer with somebody like it wasn't the first time she sat down like a regular person and had a beer. She was at a kitchen table
off-roading through the second CD.
He's
like
one of us.
Like a Duke.
You know what?
of
I'm
Hazzard.
sensing the sarcasm.
I'm laying it on pretty thick.
That's right. I had a lot of comments about that ad myself. But let's, Liz Collin, your impression of the.
I think that's an interesting race. We saw the MPPOA, the police union, the largest police organization, I should say, in Minnesota, endorse Angie Craig over Tyler Kistner, who has military experience. I think that sent some waves. It was described that Angie Craig was a bit apologetic for the role she took on against the police.
Yep.
So we'll see how if that endorsement will end up meaning something. But again, being so close last time, it really is going to, I think, come down to the wire.
It is. I have to think that there's something going on in the internal polling, though, Brad, Jack, Liz. Angie Craig's been running ads on morning TV. I don't know much about television. Perhaps we have someone here who does. But I'm told those ads are relatively expensive, and she started running those in late March, early April at the very latest. The burn rate had to have been phenomenal on that campaign. That's not, to me, the sign of a supremely confident campaign. Jack Tomczak, Liz Collin.
When the other side starts spending money, that's when I know things are real. Because I've seen how we think on the inside, and we get very excited, and sometimes that's not true. But if the Democrats are spending money, this is real.
Let's talk more about that when we come back. We have to take a break right now. The results are just starting to trickle in from the Secretary of State's office. With a little bit of luck, we'll be able to get some connectivity and check them out ourselves here momentarily. Liz Collin, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, myself, Mitch Berg from the Northern Alliance Radio Network, AM 1280 The Patriot, and Alpha News. Streaming at alphanews.com, by the way. Brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Go nowhere. The fun is literally just beginning.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
The left likes to talk about how conservatives are a threat to democracy. You know what's a threat to democracy? Big tech companies silencing conservatives they don't like. And that's exactly what the Media Research Center says Google has been caught doing. Again, you can get all the details at censortrack.org. MRC Free Speech America released a report recently showing that in 10 of the 12 biggest Senate races, Republican candidates' campaign websites appeared far lower or didn't appear at all on page 1 of Google search results. This didn't happen on other search engines tested. Just Google. Go to censortrack.org for the full report. This didn't happen with House candidates. Maybe Google knew who was going to win the House, so they focused their manipulation efforts on the Senate races. Google has tremendous power over what people see, and they're abusing that power. Go to censortrack.org to learn more about Google's efforts to fix the elections. That's censortrack.org. Paid for by Media Research Center.
First, we decide where we want to go. Then we need to know the best way to get there. Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold. We're the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. We teach people how to own physical gold and silver. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink Award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest #1 national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Get the best information, the best process, the best service, the best value. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
The Christmas Mortgage Miracle is back and bigger than ever.
For 5 years, the Christmas Mortgage Miracle has made it possible for you to
testing one. Okay, this is my microphone that I'm wearing. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4,
for next year's mortgage or rent. Increase your opportunity to win when you
1, 2, 3,
enter
4,
up to
5,
once
6
per day and complete optional bonus tasks.
Good.
Okay. At am1280thepatriot.com. Click on the Freedom Fan Club.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I start every day by reading through the stories at Daybreak Insider. In just 10 minutes, I can zip through 10 stories that matter, 10 stories that help me start my day and help shape where I go with the Mike Gallagher Show. You and I know the mainstream media is filling the airwaves with a left-wing take on the news of the day.
This is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
It's critical to find a news source that tells the truth. Well, that's Daybreak Insider. Daybreak Insider is that source. I get it in my mailbox every day. It helps shape the stories I bring to you. It's a look at today's most compelling stories, how they are covered by the media. It provides.
I'll start up here. I got some results to talk about. We'll talk with Kendall until Liz comes up with someone, okay?
Insider by email daily, and it's available to you at no cost.
If Liz has someone, I want to talk about a little bit of results for like 15 seconds, and then we can either go to Kendall or Liz. How's that sound?
You will be the most informed person in the office. That's
Does that sound good, everyone? Just going to talk a little bit about where the numbers are coming from. There's good news and there's bad news. Or good news and bad.
Stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all. Contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
All right.
Has your heater or air conditioner busted? Appliance broken? Computer crashed? Then you need an ARW home warranty. Home
1 minute's fine.
Appliance repairs and replacements can cause stress. And
1 minute will work.
With an A-plus BBB rated,
I'm watching the clock too.
Home warranty company on consumer affairs and Trustpilot, ARW Home provides superior service, featuring the industry's lowest service.
35.
ARW Home has warranty plans that cover your kitchen and laundry appliances, heating and air conditioning systems, electrical and plumbing systems, and much more. Call 800-942-1451 to customize your plan. Plus, ARW has partnered with Azure to protect your new and used tablets, laptops, TVs, and other home tech from accidental damage and wear and tear. All plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call 800-942-1451 for your free quote. That's 800-942-1451.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World, Northern Alliance Radio Network, and Alpha News, live at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park at the GOP Victory Party, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. We have to thank them for bringing us the show here tonight. We got a bunch of people to talk with. We have Liz Collin out in the audience, getting ready to talk with some people. We have Kendall Qualls joining us from Alpha News shortly here. First, I want to go with her over a little bit of the results we've gotten in so far. Brad, Jack, Kendall. By the way, Kendall, welcome to the show here. How you doing today?
Thank you, Mitch.
We heard the round of applause earlier during the previous segment about the very initial results, with about 1.2% of the results in. Scott Jensen crushing it, the entire statewide slate crushing it. That's a good news. The not really bad news, but meh news is all the results so far coming from CDs 1, 7, and 8. Not exactly counterintuitive results, nonetheless. It's a fun way to start out the evening, gents. Nothing terribly unexpected. Certainly it was a shot in the arm for the crowd. Brad?
Well, in all seriousness, we've talked about 2014 when literally after about a couple of minutes after we went on the air, they called the race for Mark Dayton defeating Jeff Johnson. So the fact that it's still not over, we're good.
So, excellent. So this is a great place to start. So much more fun than the last several races we've been through here, obviously. Kendall Qualls joins us now. Kendall, welcome to the show.
So glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Mitch.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Of course, last time we talked, you were running for governor. You made it down to the final round in a hotly contested GOP convention in Rochester last spring. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Good run. We were in the race for 4.5 months. Made a good pitch, but Scott Jensen walked away with the nomination and with the endorsement. And I think we just felt, I felt it was more important for us to form together as a team, as a party, and go unified into the general election. I thought that was more important than splitting the party and running in the primary.
Now, you've had a busy 4 years since the last time we talked, when you were 2 years, I guess, since the last time we talked when you were running for CD3. You've been running Take Charge. Now, the big news, Take Charge Minnesota. Now, the big news, of course, in the nationwide has been the immense movement of Latino and African-American male voters from the Democrats towards the GOP. I'd love to hear your observations about that.
Well, here's the scenario. whether you're Latino, you're black, we're all Americans.
Right.
Americans want to work. They want to provide a living for their family. They want their kids to get a decent education.
Absolutely.
That's universal. And that's why you're seeing this drift toward the GOP.
Brad Carlson, anything?
Well, I just kind of paying rapt attention to some of the races outside of Minnesota. It's official. The two most overrated, over-publicized, undeserved glory candidates on the Democrat side, Stacey Abrams, Beto O'Rourke, both lose their respective gubernatorial races in Georgia and Texas. Yes, Brian Kemp reelected in Georgia. Greg Abbott reelected Texas governors. Really no surprise there. So what was that Star Trek program that Stacey Abrams starred on? She could be beamed back there now, I guess.
If this were radio, I could say, just radio, I could say I'm doing a little jig here right now. Now we're on camera. I can't fake anyone out. But still, in my mind, I'm doing a little jig, just seeing Beto O'Rourke becoming next month's trivia question here, Jack Tomzak.
For my day job,
yes.
I pay attention to Georgia politics. I didn't know that Stacey Abrams had lost, so I am now very thrilled and happy.
Doing a mental jig
She's
yourself.
the worst.
Kendall Qualls.
Well, here's a little news to Stacey. This is her second time losing.
Yes.
Not her first time.
It's true.
And, if we want to talk about election deniers, we can start there.
According to her, it's her 0th time losing because she was already setting up to deny the election earlier today.
In all seriousness, what's important, again, she could not have lost if it wasn't for black voters deciding to go to the Republican Party. We have a good message that resonates across the universe, regardless of your ethnicity.
Are we doing enough to get that message to those folks?
We could do more.
Okay.
We have Liz Collin out in the house right now with an interview. Let's see. Liz, go ahead. Who do you have?
Liz, are you with us?
All right, thank you, guys. Happy to be joined by CC Davis now. CD5, you're always wearing the 5, that congressional district in the 5th district. But how are you doing? How'd you feel about today?
We woke up feeling like winners today on this team. So way to go, Congressional District 5. We like to put it out there and claim it early.
and just talk about this process. You're kind of an outsider, which has made this kind of exciting to watch from the beginning, but certainly an uphill battle with Ilhan Omar. I think there was definitely an effort this time to get her out of there. We saw that in the primary. But what even brought you to the race, and why were you called here in the first place, Stacey?
Sure. So, Congressional District 5 obviously being the most diverse district in Minnesota, what we felt was that in the last election cycle was a lot of focus on identity politics. And so what I was looking to do was to get into a race to make it an issue-based contest. And so I'm a woman, she's a woman, she's of color, I'm of color. And so I wanted to kind of neutralize those issues and just focus on the issues. And right now in CD5, the number one issue is crime. Outside of that, it's gas, it's groceries, and it's grandkids. And so what we're doing is we're running a campaign that's solely based on the issues. And what we want is real representation and not someone who's more interested in political grandstanding than representing people in D.C.
What I was really struck by your campaign from the very beginning is you've been out there. I mean, you've been everywhere. I follow you on social media, and I didn't see that from her campaign. Is that what you were hearing from people?
Yeah, you know what? I think what happens is because the district has been voting in a blue monolith since 1963, she takes it for granted, and she feels confident that she doesn't have to do the work, and that's why she was threatened so closely in the primary. This is a campaign that decided it was going to always be tireless and that it would be high energy, and so we just feel that we can't give up on the people. They deserve every single effort that we can put out. Even if we go under the radar, we're going to continue to do the work until they call that number, and we believe it's going to get called tonight.
And what's your thought just with this red wave they're predicting to reach to Minnesota as well? What's that been like for you to be a part of? A lot of these candidates who've jumped in from they have good jobs, they don't necessarily need these new roles, but has that been exciting and inspiring in a way?
It has, because what you're seeing is that people who have never served in office before, like myself, grassroots supporters who wanted to throw themselves in because we recognize that regular people want to be represented by regular people who are relative, who understand what they're going through. And that means that there is a concerted trust, and that's what people are wanting, and they want to have an ability to believe in politicians again. And so that's why I stepped up, because I understand truly what people are going through. I'm a regular working person, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I feel it at the gas station, I feel it in the groceries, and I feel it with the bills. And so I want to make sure that people have a politician and a leader they can trust in a district.
Well, and you talk about what people are going through. I mean, you've profiled quite a few of these stories just on, as I say, your social media channels, but these horrific crimes that we never even talked about before as Minnesotans and people who live and work in Minneapolis. And it's sort of sadly become, I think, white noise for some people, but your message has been all along that, hey, it doesn't have to be this way.
That's right. And so what you're talking about is across Minnesota, crime up 44%. It's up over 300% in George Floyd Square alone. We're over 70 murders in Minneapolis, and so literally bodies are dropping. People do not feel safe. It does not have to be this way. This is ground zero, unfortunately, in Minneapolis because of the comments that Ilhan Omar irresponsibly made in Powderhorn Park when she said that the Minneapolis Police Department was rotten to the core and needed to be dismantled. And so we have an opportunity to not only unseat the first squad member, but to rewrite the narrative that is coming out of Congressional District 5 to be identified as a district that actually loves families and business.
Well, we certainly wish you all the best here tonight, but thank you so much for joining me, CeCe.
Thank you for having me. Go Minnesota, go CD5.
Thank you. Thank you very much, CeCe Davis. Mitch, will send it back to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Been watching CeCe's campaign since long before it started. I'm excited to see where that goes. Kendall Qualls, we'll have to touch base with you on some of those races because the stars are showing up. We got Ryan Wilson coming up momentarily here, and Scott Jensen has entered the building. Hopefully we can get Liz Collin over there to talk with Scott Jensen shortly here. So can we get you back on here shortly, Kendall Qualls?
Absolutely. Be glad to.
We are live at the GOP Victory Party at the DoubleTree, brought to you by the North... we'll be back. AM 1280 The Patriot, alphanews.org. We'll talk about the stream momentarily. Brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Go nowhere. The fun is really just beginning.
AM 1280 The Patriot.
Hello, fellow Patriots. We'd like to introduce you to GTS HVAC.
Hi, it's Tamara and Greg from GTS.
We know you have a lot of great choices when it comes to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning companies.
Even though we've been in business for 17 years, we haven't done a lot of advertising.
So you might ask, why are we on this station?
We believe it's important to stand up for our values and support those who do the same.
If you'd like to work with someone like-minded, please give us a call at GTS HVAC.
We're interested in long-term relationships and know that if we do the job right, you'll invite us back.
So be sure to check our online reviews.
GTS HVAC is a woman-owned business
and family-operated.
Contact us now for your fall furnace tune-up, and we'll give you a free coffee card.
We work on commercial buildings and businesses too.
GTS HVAC, your Rheem Pro partner in the Twin Cities.
Building systems that perform.
Happy to be on The Patriot and online at gtshvac.com.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And on the Jenna Ellis podcast, she tackles the big cultural and legal issues facing America. Don't miss a single episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. Follow today at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
A teenage jihadist comes to Christ. Hey, it's Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and I met young Ahmed when I visited the Middle East. His father died fighting for ISIS, his mother was an extremist, and young Ahmed was going to be a suicide bomber by killing himself and others being sold out to violent Islam. Now, his mother and siblings, they came to Christ, they prayed nonstop for his salvation, and when it came, he was beaten nearly to death by extremists. And when I caught up with him several villages over, I asked, Ahmed, what's your Bible mean to you? And he said, I can look here and see where Jesus says they'll hate you because they hated me, and where Jesus says, I'm with you always. Now listen, having a Bible, it meant everything to him and gave him perspective. And his prayer was for believers there who need God's word to endure and persevere. And I said, Ahmed, those Bibles, they're coming. Listeners, you've sent God's word to more than 1,200 Bible-less persecuted believers. We have 400 to go. We have to wrap up this week. Please pray about it at $5 a Bible and call 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD, or give it am980themission.com and help us finish strong.
Take your favorite Patriot hosts with you wherever you go by downloading our app. Listen to your favorite shows, see our social media posts, enter exclusive contests, and more. Just search for AM 1280 The Patriot in the App Store.
Salmon fishing in Alaska, at an amusement park in Green Bay, or taking a stroll through Loring Park. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280 The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. Did you know withdrawing your cash from the bank can be very risky? That's right, I said it. Let me educate you about this. Banks are now required to spy on us for the government and to report any behavior they think is suspicious. Man, oh man, I was shocked as I read The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America. This new war against cash is really a war against the Constitution, against all freedom-loving Americans. So listen to me. You must read The Secret War on Cash. Get your free copy by calling 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com. Now, this war on cash is growing daily, and it also includes all forms of digital money. So please get and read The Secret War on Cash, free to my listeners, by calling right now, 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646.
AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News live at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park with the GOP Victory Party. We're, of course, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. We wouldn't be here without them, so definitely send them some love. We are here live at the Alpha News booth right now on stage at the GOP Victory Party. Myself, Brad Carlson, Kendall Qualls from Alpha News, and we're joined by one of the dark horses potentially here that we've been watching for quite some time, the GOP's endorsed state auditor candidate, Ryan Wilson. Ryan, welcome back to the show. Welcome to the show here.
Thank you for having me. What a night, huh?
Really, it seriously is. We haven't talked since the state fair. I volunteered at your booth, and I was thinking, okay, another GOP state auditor race. Here we go. Throw it against the wall, see what happens. Something seems to have stuck against the wall, Ryan Wilson.
Well, you know what? I think that state fair was emblematic of it, right? People saw what we were running on. They saw the issues that mattered, and that resonated. We had tens of thousands of people come by the booth, not to mention the hundreds of thousands of people that walked by the booth, right? And just being able to reach out and connect directly with people, that was huge for us. So
I was in the booth and I was thinking, whoa, we got something going on here. Brad Carlson.
Yeah, obviously, Ryan, not having held elected office before, and a lot of people in today's politics consider that a feature, not a bug, not a career politician. But when you're going out and about and talking about the role of an auditor, did it really, I mean, obviously the Feeding Our Future scandal and the lack of oversight that has taken place in the current administration certainly resonated with people. But even before that, how are you going out and sharing what the office, much more effective it could be?
Yeah, there were really two parts of our communication strategy. One was discussing how we're going to be fighting waste, fraud, and abuse, a central tenet to a good state auditor, right? Making sure that those tax dollars are going to where they're supposed to go. But the other part is kind of a vision for how we can help communities, have the information and the resources, the data that they need to be able to be stronger. So, for example, the state auditor can, but they haven't, shared best practices a lot. And that's one of the things we've seen fall by the wayside.
So, speaking of things falling by the wayside, I mean, the contrast between yourself and the incumbent, Julie Blaha, is just such a yawning gap. I had to be a little bit like, talk to me about how you get that perception across to people out across Minnesota that you're an actual auditor. You're up against someone whose idea of being an auditor was, in her own words, 4 years ago, teaching kindergartners how to count. That was just the most glorious comparison right there.
Well, I think and that's a fundamental difference between her and myself. The auditor Blaha wanted to focus on a lot of issues not related to the office, a lot of social issues. You heard her campaign a lot on climate change, for example. And these just aren't things that fall within the state auditor's office. And so I focused this entire campaign on what is the role of the state auditor, what should the state auditor be doing. And we just kept it there the entire time. And every time, my opponent tried to drag us into a discussion off topic, we just brought it right back to auditing, right? What are we going to do? We're going to audit. We're going to make sure the money's going where it's supposed to go.
I had no idea how much of a role the state auditor had in abortion policy, for example, before this campaign. Listening to Auditor Blaha, your applause in the background, Jim Schultz beating Keith Ellison 75-25 with 1.4% of the vote in so far. Don't need to be an auditor or an accountant, Brad Carlson, to know that we're very early in the race here. Still, it's a lot of fun. Kendall Qualls, you had a question for Ryan Wilson.
Well, not a question, but more of an observation. As a candidate on the circuit statewide, I got a chance to see Ryan campaigning throughout the state. what he brought to this role of the auditor's job was something that most people didn't even realize was a function at all. And that what people appreciated, what the observation I was saying, was authenticity, leadership, and a genuine sense that you can trust the guy.
Yeah, it's. I mean, after the last 12 years or so, one would be forgiven if you live in Minnesota to think the state auditor's job is to carry the governor's gig bag around to events. Brad Carlson.
Yeah, one of the things we hear from new candidates into electoral politics, particularly those who run statewide, is they are amazed how big and wide and far and vast the state of Minnesota is. Well, talk about, I guess, your campaign experience in general, Ryan Wilson. Did that take you by surprise?
Hey, we were all over the place. What surprised me, is how similar everyone is. Right? People had the same issues no matter where we traveled in the state. They wanted to know whether their tax dollars for law enforcement were making it to law enforcement, right? Whether their education dollars were helping their kids, in their classrooms. And these are the things that people cared about. We heard that message no matter where we went in Minnesota, right? Whether that be in the metro, greater Minnesota, north, east, southwest. People wanted their schools, to have the resources they needed to be able to help their kids.
So I was watching the news, say, I don't know, a month or so ago, and when the Feeding Our Future scandal broke on Julie Blaha and Keith Ellison's watch, I had to think, Ryan Wilson just got Christmas in October. Tell us what you thought about that. First of all, your observations as a potential auditor on dealing with that level of corruption in Minnesota state government.
Well, we first saw it just before I got in the race. So the FBI obviously raided a lot of the Feeding Our Future properties and vendors, and so we made it an issue the entire way through. And early on, we identified some serious missteps by the current state auditor, where she failed to identify some particular reports and find red flags. And we never wanted to take a cheap shot. That was important for my campaign.
Sure.
Right? It was always founded in fact and in law and in data. We weren't going to, again, take a low blow. We wanted to make sure that everything we said we could do, we will do. And so that was important. We wanted to run the race with integrity.
Well, Mitch, one of the things, again, that I heard what Ryan communicated to the group, and Ryan, I'd like to get your feedback on this, was a sense of they are held accountable.
A round of applause coming in for the latest round of results. We'll come back to those in a moment. Go ahead, Kendall Qualls.
But they're held accountable in their jobs, and it didn't seem like anyone's being held accountable, at the state level on some of these missing funds. And how did that resonate with voters, with just the crowds that you were speaking with all across the state?
Right. I mean, in Minnesota, people are generally good-natured people. They're willing to put money into some of these safety net programs, but they want to make sure the money's making it to the people it's supposed to help. And when they see stuff like this, they want answers. I think that was one of the things that was really frustrating is Feeding Our Future. It happened, like I said, it happened in late January, and we never really got answers. Then next thing you know, the FBI is raiding and arresting people or indicting people, and nobody had any answers. And we saw multiple shifting stories from current elected officials as to who knew what and when. And again, that frustrated Minnesotans. And so I think part of that is going to be baked into the voting tonight.
Well, I think from my perspective, you brought new life to the auditor's race. The fact that someone's going to split the ticket and they're going to vote for you, that says that you've done something different than the rest of the candidates.
And in fact, the thing I think is interesting, all three of us, is all four of us here right now, is that traditionally the conventional wisdom in state office races in Minnesota is the governor really sets the tone, drags the auditor, the attorney general, and the secretary of state over the finish line. If we have a really good night tonight, it may be the opposite. Ryan Wilson, you and Jim Schultz may very well help drag Scott Jensen over the finish line here with any luck at all, which I never thought I would see. One of many things I never thought I'd see when we started doing these shows way back when. Ryan Wilson, a pleasure to talk with you here tonight. Best of luck here tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to talk with you again after your victory later on. Your fingers crossed.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. We've got some results starting to slide in here. We'll talk about those when we come back, as well as Scott Jensen has entered the room here. We'll hopefully have Liz Collin talking with candidate and, with any luck, future Governor Jensen here. More results are coming in. The crowd's sobering up just a little bit since they're getting a little more measured, shall we say, as more Metro Air results come in. Much more on that when we return. This is the Northern Alliance Radio Network, along with AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Go nowhere. The fun is really just starting to get rolling here.
AM 1280 The Patriot is WWTC Minneapolis-St. Paul, FM 107.5, K298CO Minneapolis, Intelligent Radio. AM 1280 The Patriot.
Need new windows but don't want to sit through long, high-pressure sales calls? I get it. What if I told you you could get competitive quotes from 3 contractors after one short meeting with me on any window brand? And it's all free. Visit My 3 Quotes online. That's My 3 Quotes.
Salem Surround partners with your business to deliver custom digital marketing solutions. Surround your target audience wherever they engage, search, surf, socialize, or review to keep your business top of mind. Learn more at minneapolis.salemsurround.com.
Warning, warning, warning. Once you taste the Rack Shack's Patriot Burger, other burgers will never measure up.
Hey, I'm Nick Anderson, General Manager of AM 1280 The Patriot, and we've partnered with my friend Keith Hittner Sr. from the Rack Shack Barbecue to create a burger worthy of the Patriot name.
It's a half-pound burger that's red, white, and blue through and through. American cheese on top, and the American flag proudly waves over the bun. The Patriot Burger comes with your choice of any of our delectable sides, like our famous hand-cut fries, all just for $12.80.
Best burger in town as far as I'm concerned, and it's $12.80 anytime, any day. Try today at the Rack Shack Barbecue at the Cedar Cliff Center at Nichols and Cliff in Eagan.
Be careful. Once you try a Patriot Burger, you may never go back to a regular burger.
That's the Rack Shack Barbecue at rackshackbarbecue.com.
Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack Barbecue, yeah.
At Progressive, we know there's nothing like the feeling of riding a motorcycle with your crew on the open road. It's a primal, wild freedom, a feeling that would be impossible to recreate on the radio. Until now. Hit it, sound effects guy. No. We really lost our stride at the end there. Get 24/7 roadside assistance with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Roadside assistance subject to policy terms and limits and may require comprehensive coverage.
AM 1280 The Patriot is WWTC Minneapolis-St. Paul, FM 107.5, K298CO Minneapolis, Intelligent Radio.
This is an SRN News Special Report, Decision 22. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The midterm election turning out to be something of a red wave with a number of key victories for Republicans. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has won the Arkansas governor's race.
I've gotten the opportunity over the last 2 years to fall in love with Arkansas over and over and over and over again.
And she says she is proud to be following in her father's footsteps, former Governor Mike Huckabee. 2 major Republican victories in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis outpacing Democrat Charlie Crist to win a new term. He took time to thank his wife
for being a great wife, giving unwavering support, being a tremendous mother to our 3 young children.
And Republican U.S. Senator Marco Rubio has won a 3rd term, defeating U.S. Representative Val Demings and holding a key seat for the GOP. This has been an SRN News Special Report, Decision 22.
Eric Metaxas is upset with the corruption.
It's hard to talk about for me. The corruption in this White House, the corruption in our government, it is vile. It stands against everything the founders pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to guarantee for us.
The Eric Metaxas Show, overnights at 3 on AM 1280, The Patriot. Intelligent Radio.
Intelligent Radio, AM 1280 The Patriot. If you want to check out the best and longest running conservative talk show in the Twin Cities, it is on AM 1280 The Patriot. Join Mitch Berg, Brad Carlson, Jack Tomzak for the Northern Alliance Radio Network every Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. and Sunday afternoons 1 to 3 p.m. If tonight's coverage of the election isn't enough, tune in this weekend. Again, Saturday 1 to 5 p.m. and Sunday afternoons 1 to 3 p.m. for the Northern Alliance Radio Network.
AM 1280 The Patriot.
Hi, it's Keith Hittner Sr. here. Tune in on Sundays at noon for your Real Estate Chalk Talk, where we study the science of buying and selling real estate and the art of living in your home.
Get the solid real estate facts you need from Keith Hittner Sr. and Keith Hittner Jr. of Coldwell Banker Burnett and their team of experts. Tune in to Real Estate Chalk Talk on AM 1280 The Patriot every Sunday at 12 noon. Brought to you by the Hittner Group, the #1 Coldwell Banker Group in the nation. Online at hittnergroup.com. And tune in to Real Estate Chalk Talk every Sunday at 12 noon on AM 1280 The Patriot.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. We are in the midst of what is properly labeled a bottom-up election. Legacy media keeps pushing narratives from the top down. Momentum is with the Democrats, we've heard, and the GOP is riddled with, scare quotes, white Christian nationalists. Then, Republicans are somehow guilty of every random act of violence, and over we've heard that this election is really all about Donald Trump. But I bet you've noticed Trump isn't on the ballot this year. Americans can see for themselves what is. Skyrocketing consumer prices, falling real wages, and disruptions in goods and services. And that's just the economics. Crime is rising. We have a crisis in public education. Then there's the new hordes of homeless. The question this election asks of you is, who are you going to believe? The propaganda outlets for the ruling class, or your own two eyes? Remember, it's not enough to gripe, you have to act. Make sure that your vote is part of the final tally.
We noticed we had a leak in our roof. Hey, I'm Brenda from Stillwater, Minnesota. We noticed some water staining in our ceiling by our chimney. This is our first time working with JTR Roofing. A close friend had recommended them and had a great experience. They ended up replacing our roof and performed the work on our chimney. I would recommend JTR Roofing because they were reliable, friendly, there were no hidden costs in their quotes, and the craftsmanship was outstanding. Not only did they do an outstanding job on our home, but also they support the community. They've had a good reputation in the 30 years that they've been in business.
Start off with a few numbers before we go to our roving reporter thing.
I was absolutely satisfied with it. Absolutely. We're thinking about having our windows replaced, and
give me a high sign when Liz is ready.
Go to jtrroofinginc.com. That's jtrroofinginc.com.
I'm going to start with some numbers.
At AM1280thepatriot.com, you guide the conversation.
Mike Gallagher, midterm projections.
Here's what Newt said last night.
The two most successful models, they use historic data. Both of them came in about the same number. They predict 44 to 46 seat gain by the Republicans in the House. Remember, when you get out of California, the Republican generic advantage is enormous.
Yeah, we're going to start.
In the swing states, even the Washington Post last week reported the Republicans are ahead something like 57 to 35 in the swing districts.
What's your Senate prediction?
+3 to +7 on the Senate, +20 to +50 in the House.
And I hope he's right, because it's our only chance to get this country back.
Visit AM1280thepatriot.com. Click on Hosts and search for whatever's on your mind. You'll find a deep archive of intelligent commentary. The polls are closed and the results are coming in. Live election night coverage on AM 1280 The Patriot is sponsored by North Oaks Financial Services. Now, with color commentary and intelligent perspective on the key races, here's the Northern Alliance Radio Network.
This is AM 1280 The Patriots, the Northern Alliance Radio Network, along with Alpha News at alphanews.org, live streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, wherever you're joining us. Glad to have you here. The broadcast tonight is brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Jack Tomzak, Kendall Qualls, Brad Carlson. I'm Mitch Berg from AM 1280 The Patriot. Quick update on the results we have so far as the numbers are coming in with about 3% of the vote right now. Scott Jensen ahead by 5 points. That's with 3% of the vote in, all of it from CDs 1, 7, and 8 so far. That's what we have for statewide numbers so far. Brad Carlson.
Well, and what we're seeing and what we've alluded to is that the other statewide candidates, specifically Ryan Wilson, Jim Schultz, far outpacing Scott Jensen. Scott Jensen, like you said, only ahead by 5 points, whereas Schultz and Wilson headed by about 9 or 10 points.
So we have Liz Collin from Alpha News Live out in the house tonight talking
News
to some
from
average
10 feet
voters.
away.
Go right ahead with Liz Collin.
Well, you guys, I'm joined by the Clarks from St. Paul. Some great people, I must say. We go way back. But first of all, we'll get to Henry's story in a moment. But just introduce yourself and talk about what brings you out here tonight.
Hi, Liz. I'm Matt Clark. This is my son, Henry. And we went to the GOP caucus for the first time this spring. It was a cold day in March, and just wanted to see something different for our city and something different for our state.
And I was so struck by your son's story. A very smart 10-year-old. Good work, Dad. But Henry, just talk about what brings you out tonight and what you're hoping for. What are you hoping happens?
I am hoping that Dr. Scott Jensen and all the Republicans can win the Senate and win our state back.
I understand that you never really paid, perhaps like most kids your age, much attention to politics, but then you started to have to wear masks at school, right?
Yes, I wasn't very pleased about it, so I just started standing up for my friends and classmates, and we started a walkout, and it conjoined, and now we don't have to wear masks anymore.
What do you think of this kid, Matt?
I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to give up a Saturday of playing video games to go to a boring convention and talk about masks, and to give up a day in May where he could be playing baseball and go support Scott Jensen's campaign. But he stood up for the rights of the people who didn't have a voice and couldn't help take off their masks to stand up on their behalf. I'm just so proud of him.
And you were giving me a little background, and I think your family's story is so relatable. You're not lifelong Republicans, as you've said, but what has changed your mind this time around?
The hard part is just we've lost all common sense. I mean, we live in St. Paul. I grew up in St. Paul. I was voted most school spirit at Highland Park High School. And with all the nonsense in the schools, we've had to pull our kids out and go private. And it breaks my heart because there's tons of kids that frankly should go private given what we know now.
So how are you feeling just about talking to your family and your friends this election cycle, even just the last week? How do you think it goes here tonight?
We're out. And that's a big thing now to talk about being out. So we are out. We are full-fledged Scott Jensen supporters, and we showed up in March. We showed up in May when we kept up the drumbeat. We kept up the cadence, and here we are hoping for a big win tonight.
And I like the marching band references. Good work. Are U of M grad, right?
Trombone player. And what do you play?
Saxophone.
Saxophone. Well, honestly, kids like Henry give us hope for the future, right?
I hope so, very much so. And we've got 3 other boys, too, so busy family.
Right. Yes. Well, thank you so much. Again, the Clarks from St. Paul. You guys really appreciate you joining me.
Thanks, Liz. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Liz. And, of course, Scott Jensen has entered the room. Hopefully we're going to be tracking him down fairly soon here. Jack Thompson.
Mitch, you better get that guy's phone number. You could be the 2 Republicans who can hang out in St. Paul.
You know, the one on my block moved out after our drugstore got burned during the
that'll
riots.
do it.
That'll do it. Yeah, one of us couldn't deal anymore. I myself, I figured they have to get vaccinated against me. Results starting to creep in around the state right now. Of course, as I noted earlier, with about 3.2% of the vote in, Jensen ahead of Walz, 50-45. As you noted, the statewide races are running considerably ahead at this point. Of course, with, again, votes exclusively coming from the first, almost exclusive from the first 7th and 8th congressional districts. But we are getting the first votes in right now from the 2nd congressional district, with about 6% of the precincts in the 2nd congressional district. Angie Craig up about 20 points on Tyler Kistner. I suspect that will tighten up here over time. Also, we go down to the 1st congressional district. Brad Finstead with going about 6 or 7% in right now. Brad Finstead crushing Jeff Ettinger so far again. Michelle Fischbach running roughshod right now with about 5% in up in the 5th congressional district. And Jen Schultz ahead right now with 1% of the vote in the 8th congressional district, ahead right now by about 11 points. That will tighten up and probably invert at some point here, ladies and gentlemen. So watching the first of the results start to creep in right now. J.D. Vance in Ohio, that's the one we've been watching for a while here, Brad and Jack and Kendall. Looks like, I don't think they've called it quite yet, but seems to be running ahead right now. On the other hand, at this moment with 41% in Pennsylvania, Fetterman 5 points up over Mehmet Oz. It's always a wild guess as to where these results are coming from. Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson.
Yeah, I think in looking at the U.S. Senate, that is, Pennsylvania is held by Republican Pat Toomey, obviously not seeking re-election. If Dr. Mehmet Oz holds that for the Republicans, then it makes the task that much less formidable for the GOP. They just have to flip one Democrat-held Senate seat. And the options, from what I'm looking at now, seem to be dwindling a little bit. Colorado has been called for Michael Bennet, not a huge surprise. But the Warnock-Walker race, Warnock 49.1, Walker 49.
Wow.
With about 78% reporting. Now, Georgia, let's not forget, you have to, on election night, to emerge victorious, you have to get 50% plus one. If no candidate does that, then it goes to a runoff in December, which obviously Warnock and Walker will be the top two vote getters that'll have to go to the runoff. So keeping a rapt eye on the U.S. Senate and U.S. House. Not seeing a red wave yet. I got to be perfectly honest with you, Mitch Berg. Maybe it'll materialize, but right now, not really looking like it.
Early results, we'll have to wait and see how things develop.
These Senate races are 70+% reporting. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Jack Tomczak, you have been spending a fair amount of your day job time in Georgia right now. Your perspective from what you've seen so far?
My guess is that Herschel Walker wins this one.
Really? Anything informing that guess?
Outright tonight? Tonight, you mean? 50% plus one tonight?
Yes, tonight.
Okay.
He's spending a lot of time in small towns, being a regional celebrity, and people love it, and they haven't gotten the treatment before, so I think he takes it.
Let's not.
I could be wrong.
Well, I'll just weigh in on that too, because
go ahead, yeah.
You know, the fact that Governor Kemp won that in a comfortable lead, some of that's going to have to bleed off for Walker as well.
Yeah, that was obviously the hope, is that Brian Kemp was going to coast to re-election, but early on in some of it, particularly in the metro area and some of the outstate counties, there was a lot of ticket splitting going on where people were pulling the lever for Kemp and either not voting for Walker or voting for Warnock. So it has been an interesting dynamic to watch in Georgia, to be sure.
So we'll talk more about the national results and state results as they start to creep in here. Watching for the signs of the red wave here. We'll have to be watching some of these House races here. That's where we really need to get the flip on a nationwide basis here. We'll be looking for that as we move forward here. Liz Collin is out in the House right now. She'll be looking to hopefully get a hold of Scott Jensen here shortly here. And Jim Schultz has promised to join us here when he gets back in the building at some point here. Hopefully we'll be seeing the margin of victory holding somewhere close to where we're at. Let's take a break right now. We are AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News, the Northern Alliance Radio Network, and Kendall Qualls, Liz Collin. Stick around. We'll be right back. Go nowhere.
AM 1280 The Patriot.
The best thing you can do right now is put yourself into a better financial situation. Really dig into your expenses and take action to cut back where you can. That's where American Financing comes in, because they'll give you a free, no-obligation mortgage review where you'll learn about ways your home can work for you. Now, I know most of you are experiencing significant equity gains. It may be time to access that equity as cash and put it toward credit card debt, or any debt for that matter. It's easier than you think, and you can save hundreds a month by calling our friends at American Financing. Now, I'm telling you, there's no pressure, no upfront or hidden fees. No matter your credit score, it's worth a 10-minute conversation to learn more. They're my mortgage company, American Financing. Call 888-900-1828. That's 888-900-1828. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net.
American Financing, NMLS 182334, www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
I'm driving a 2018 Elantra, red, my favorite color. Hi, I'm Rita from St. Paul.
Well, when I first walked in, I felt welcomed. And I'd been at a couple other dealerships that I gave an F to. And Justin was the first gentleman to wait on me when I took it in for my first service. And he's been the only person that I've dealt with since then. Can't say enough good things about him. On Christmas Day last year, I was on the freeway driving home, and all of a sudden a red light came on, and the right front tire was low. And the next day I called, and Justin answered. He said, let me take a look at it and go in the waiting room, and I'll get back to you. They found that there was a huge nail in the tire. And so he was able to get that all fixed up and replaced and sent me on my way home. Invergrove Hyundai was very welcoming. Service was excellent.
Invergrove Hyundai's service technicians are ready for you no matter what kind of vehicle you drive. Open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays. Call them today or schedule your appointment at InvergroveHyundai.com.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Sponsored by Specialty Medical. 800-260-1792. 800-260-1792. 800-260-1792. That's 800-260-1792.
Are you offended by the woke agenda? By what they're teaching and not teaching our kids and grandkids in schools? Are you concerned about rising prices, recession, jobs? By the numbers, Minnesota has also become a high crime state. Is America and Minnesota on the wrong track? If you agree, then vote Republican Tuesday, November 8th. Republicans are committed to restoring Minnesota and America. Your vote matters. Cast it wisely.
This message was prepared and paid for by the 4th Congressional District Republicans.
You already know your identity can be stolen. Did you know your home has an identity that can be stolen as well? Everything about your home lives on real estate, government, and financial computers that can be hacked. This is a real estate crime called house stealing, and the FBI reports real estate fraud is one of the fastest growing crimes. A thief forges the title to your home and takes over as the new owner. Then he takes out loans on your home and leaves you in debt. And no, you're not protected by insurance or simple identity theft programs. Home Title Lock protects you by locking down your home's title so the bad guys can't get to it. I trust Home Title Lock, and I suggest you verify that your home's title is still safely in your name. Go to HomeTitleLock.com and use promo code MARK. Then register your address for your free, no-obligation home title report. That's a $100 value free, folks. Visit HomeTitleLock.com, promo code MARK. Again, HomeTitleLock.com, promo code MARK.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and Worlds, AM 1280 The Patriot, Alpha News. Live election coverage from the Doubletree in St. Louis Park with Liz Collin, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson out in the house right now. I'm Mitch Berg. And by the way, we're brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. We wouldn't be here without them, so kudos. Thank you very much. Latest round of results that just came in, Jack Tomczak. The Metro just dumped, 4th and 5th CDs just dumped about 500,000 votes into the pot right now. And the crowd's gotten just a tad subdued, Jack Tomczak, Liz Collin.
Did you say 4th and 5th?
The 4th and 5th congressional districts. About 500,000 votes, and what was once a 70-20 race for the Republican ticket is now something like 68-38 for the DFL right now. So the Metro has sounded off. Liz Collin, not to be unexpected.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that to be expected this time of the night, yeah.
But it has definitely put a little bit of taken some of the buzz off the mood we had earlier here.
I would not want to be a first-time activist at this party
party, not quite understanding
How this
what's
works.
going on and the ups and the downs. And we're winning, we're losing, we're winning, we're losing.
Yeah.
The roller coaster is visible with some of these people. Of course, this is the Northern Alliance's 10th time out at these races here tonight, so we've seen it all here right now. This is you having fun lately?
I think this is a lot of fun. I mean, people in this room are energized. I mean, it's been fun to get out and just talk to voters and the candidates.
And when we start seeing results from the 6th congressional district coming in, I have a hunch the mood will probably pick up a little bit. Fingers crossed. Speaking of mood picking up and changes that we had not expected to see, we're joined by Rick Aguilar. Rick, of course, the longtime chair of the Republican. Let me try this. The Republican Latinx Caucus. Is that what you're calling it these days?
The Latinx. Hold the Latinx.
Not
buddy.
a bit.
It's pronounced
Latinx. No, the Hispanic Republican Assembly of Minnesota.
The Hispanic Republican.
That's the title.
And well, let's be honest. Latinos are the stars of the show these days in the Republican Party.
It was a long time coming. You know, the last time we were this excited was the Viva Bush campaign. Remember?
I do.
When Bush 43 was spending millions of dollars on media.
Yep.
He did it the right way. He had the marketing agencies. He had the advocates. He did an all-out assault on media. 45%. So, and you know, it was kind of strange. It was really a disaster. The next time, the next Republican that ran didn't follow up.
So, what has changed, as from your perspective, in the intervening years, that has changed things with the Latino crowd?
Black Lives Matters.
Really?
We have the Latino businesses. We have the Latino businesses getting hit up in the riots. That was happening nationally.
Yes.
You know that in Los Angeles, the Latino gangs, I mean, there are Latino gangs. They were out there defending the Latino community and the business districts.
Yeah. And East Lake Street, heavily Latino neighborhood as well, and it got beaten up pretty bad.
Well, and not only that, Mitch, but again, like the Asians, the government, Walsh and his crowd never came and talked to the Latinos about it.
Well, let's call it.
I know that Alpha News, our columnist Karen Sullivan, talked to you this summer, and the headline being that Hispanics reject the progressive movement. They've really been turned off by a lot of these policies, a lot of these conversations that the president of the United States is pushing.
Well, faith, family, and faith, and the whole thing with Latinos is, they're not into the progressive thing. We've always, Republicans have always told us, well, the Latinos should be voting our way because they have our values. Well, you still have to court them. You still have to do media with them. You still have to reach out to them. And I think we're learning that. That Jensen campaign, because I've been involved in this 30 years here in the state. They're one of the first the governor race. They're one of the first groups that really done some media. They're on Telemundo. They're doing print, they're doing radio, social media. So I give them a lot of credit. They actually listened and said, we need a breakthrough in the metro area, and they've done some media there. So
Rick, we have said for a very long time the Hispanic community should be with us, with Republicans, and we can't count on radical lefties burning Minneapolis and St. Paul down for every election. What do Republicans and conservatives need to do, and candidates need to do better to maintain the Latino support?
Well, here's what the Democrats do. They have these nonprofit groups that they put together, supposedly bipartisan. Well, they're out recruiting the voters. Yeah, right. We need to do what they're doing in Milwaukee and other key populations in the country. They're opening up these neighborhood Latino outreach offices. And the RNC jumped in, had the funding. They're doing that now. Those have to stay open around the clock.
Yeah.
We've got to start utilizing that.
Americans for Prosperity has the Libre initiative, and where they are, it's helpful, but they're not everywhere.
They're not everywhere. The Koch brothers are kind of ironic. They're funded by the Koch brothers, but they do have a very active group. They were big with Youngkin in Virginia. So they do come out and they do pick certain Republican candidates to go and support. But they're big in Texas with the Republicans, the Latinos in particular, running for office there. So they're a very effective group, by the way, very effective.
And you were the first person to tell me, Rick Aguilar, it absolutely blew my mind, totally counterintuitive. Latino voters are more hardcore on the border than your typical redneck Republican.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That totally.
Well, they have been. Yeah, they have been. And the fact is, they have a lot of businesses. You look at some of those key cities that are located on the border. They're getting all these thousands of Latinos coming in there. There's some crime against those communities there. They're feeling the effect of that.
Well, you're looking at the effect that the open borders have had on these primarily Latino American towns like McAllen, Texas, El Paso, Del Rio, that are getting thousands of people every day.
Yeah.
And contrasting that with the panic that broke out when 50 people got moved to Martha's Vineyard.
Well, especially when Trump had done a good job there.
Yes.
And that illegal activity wasn't as heavy as it is now, of course.
I think education has also come up as we've seen these lockdowns lead to plummeting test scores across the state. I know yourself in that story. You're from a family of 12. You felt the American dream was alive and well back then, but you feel like that's changing for this next generation.
Well, before the 2019, we had the worst outcomes, high school graduation outcomes in the country here. Even R.T. Ryback, mayor of Minneapolis, admitted it. We're doing terrible with Latinos. What is it now? COVID really affected the Latino students in particular. They weren't tuning in. They didn't have the internet at home. We don't even know what those numbers are now, but it's a disaster, big time.
Absolutely. Rick Aguilar, once again, I hope you can join us again later on this evening. Keep us posted if you hear any news here.
You got
This would be absolutely fantastic. Rick Aguilar, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on Alpha News at alphanews.org. Actually, we're streaming at AM 1280 The Patriot and on, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and of course live on good old-fashioned radio, AM 1280, FM 107.5. It seems so.
It comes free in your car.
That's right. You don't have to pay anything for it. Kids, ask your grandparents. It's what communications used to be all about. With Liz Collin, Kendall Qualls from Alpha News, Jack Tomczak, Brett Carlson, and myself from AM 1280 The Patriot. We're going to be taking a break here shortly. When we come back, making the elusive chase after governor candidate Scott Jensen here. Will we find him? Oh, yes, we will. One way or the other, we always get our guy. Go nowhere.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
Folks, if you haven't joined AMAC yet, here are 3 reasons why now is the time to visit amac.us to become a member. First, AMAC saves you money from tremendous discounts and benefits on travel and lodging, cell phones and plans, access to insurance products, and more. AMAC's money-saving benefits and discounts are a powerful tool against inflation. Second, with a bi-monthly magazine, daily website content, podcasts with America's thought leaders, and an app that delivers insightful coverage of the issues that matter most, the AMAC Newsline team is a source of information you can trust. And third, the reason most people say is their favorite is that AMAC fights for your conservative values on Capitol Hill. With more than 2 million members, AMAC is a voice that cannot be ignored, working tirelessly to preserve the freedom secured by our Constitution. So visit amac.us today and join. That's amac.us, amac.us. Join today, amac.us.
Sightseeing in Paris, at the mall in Bloomington, or on horseback in Dallas. We're where you are. Listen to AM 1280, The Patriot, at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
What's the best product I bought this year? Oh, that's easy. Salonpas pain-relieving patches. The proven medicines in Salonpas patches reduce my pain and let me do the things I need to do every day.
In a recent clinical study, patients using Salonpas reported improved sleep, mood, and the ability to work. They had less pain and were able to reduce their use of oral pain medications.
For pain, I use Salon Pause. It's good medicine.
As a former congressman and the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives, Doug Collins knows what it means to fight for what he believes. And on every episode of the Doug Collins podcast, he'll explore all topics, from politics to life advice, and blend them together for a well-rounded discussion that you can use to get the most out of your life. The Doug Collins Podcast. Subscribe today on Apple, Google, Spotify, and at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-333-1750. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-333-1750. 800-333-1750.
We need your help. Hello, I'm Marianne Koharski, Director of Pro-Life Across America. In my 30-plus years, I've never seen such a concerted attempt to silence our efforts, and at a time when it's most needed. There's a powerful effort to prevent and block our pro-life messages. Our billboards, social media, and digital ads are all impacted. Unplanned pregnancies still happen. Our ads feature a hotline number connecting callers with more than 3,000 pregnancy support centers across America, offering alternatives to abortion, free ultrasound, and pregnancy help. Babies' lives are being saved. The need still exists. It really does. And Pro-Life Across America needs your help. To donate, please find us at prolifeacrossamerica.org.
Did you know I could suck my thumb before I was born? Yep, we all started small. Pro-Life Across America,
the Billboard people. Soaking up the sun in Fiji, walking through the Sculpture Garden in Minneapolis, or standing in awe at the Grand Canyon. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280 The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News live at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Brought to you by our sponsor tonight, which is North Oaks Financial Services. I knew it was in the North Burbs. It wasn't Hugo. It wasn't Forest Lake. It has to be North Oaks, absolutely. With Liz Collins, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, and I myself, Mitch Berg from the Northern Alliance. And it would be an understatement to say that the dropping of the fifth CD's votes into the pot here has changed the tone and tenor of things around here. Roughly three-quarters, maybe more, of CD5's votes came in, and they were predictably overwhelmingly DFL. Currently, Ilhan Omar leading CC Davis 75-23, not unexpectedly in the fifth CD. I got to say, I was hoping to see CC Davis pull a little closer to Ilhan Omar, just to hopefully show that some of the Don Samuels Democrats might be in a little more the ascendant in the 5th Congressional District.
Percentage of CD5 that's in?
189 of 217. So I'm doing the math in my head. That's about 75-80%.
They're now up to 87% reporting, with 77-23 for Ilhan Omar. I mean, let's be honest. The DFL primary in CD5 is essentially the general election. And Don Samuels came so close to ousting Ilhan Omar in the primary. Maybe the third time will be the charm in 2024, we shall see. But as a result, because 87% is reporting CD5, the DFL statewide races have ticked up significantly for the Democrats.
I'm wondering what you're seeing at the Hennepin County Attorney's race at this point, where you're hearing Mary Moriarty seems to be taking a commanding lead in that race, and I think that's something that also people are watching.
We'll have to take a look at that when we get a second here. But first, we're going to go out to the House. Kendall Qualls is joining us from live out in the audience right now. Kendall, take it away.
All right. Hey, it's Kendall Qualls here on the floor of the watch party of the GOP, state GOP meeting. And I got some people that a lot of people say that we don't have in the Republican Party. That's young people. Now, these guys may look a little bit older. They have a lot of facial hair, but they're all in their 20s. And they're not here with any campaign. They're not volunteers. They come here as patriots, as citizens, really wanting to see the country move forward and our state move forward. And we're going to get their names here in a minute.
I'm Eli.
Eli?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Joshua.
Joshua.
Richard.
Ryan. All right, guys, tell me a bit why you're here. Not at someplace else where you can be, but why here, why now, and what's driving you to vote Republican?
Yeah, we really just wanted to come out and showcase our support. I've lived in Minnesota pretty much all my life and would love to see it go red someday. Okay. And so hoping that's tonight, but really just wanted to come out and support the party and kind of see what we're about.
What are some of the key driving issues for you?
I think for us, it's we're all men of faith, so we have these traditional values that we feel are better represented by this party. It's one of those things where your conscience just ends up leading you a certain way, and you have to follow it.
All right, great. Anything for you? What is your key drivers for you?
Some of the big things would be the pro-life stance that Republican Party a lot of times does take, and then also the way that COVID was handled by the Democratic Party was egregious. It wasn't very nice, so that's why I really like being with the Republican Party.
All right, Eli, what about you, buddy?
I just like to show some support for the Republican Party because of all the crime that was not handled correctly and that drove out all the small businesses in Minnesota.
All right. Well, hey, look, I just wanted to get some feedback from some guys here and on the floor, man on the street, if you will. But these guys are just regular citizens wanting to support and see some things change in our state. And you heard it straight from them. Back to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kendall Qualls. By the way, Liz Collin, you were looking for results on the Hennepin County Attorney's race. Not unexpectedly, Marriott Moriarty is in the lead with the vast majority, I think all but 14 precincts out of almost 400 in Minneapolis. The slight surprise to me is it's a lot closer than I thought. It's 57-41, which is a lot closer than I thought that would ever get with an endorsed DFL candidate for county attorney.
And it looks like, Mitch, that Alpha News is projecting that she will win with 96% of the precincts reporting at this hour, as you said, 57% to 41%. But it'll really be interesting to see where these other statewide races go. Again, these are offices that a lot of people never paid attention to before, and again, it was. I think that has changed this election cycle.
And I need to stress, we've seen almost. I don't think I've seen so much as a single precinct from CD6 come in yet. Things are still relatively laid down in the 1 and the 7, and CD8 is still hovering around virtually nothing reporting here. So very little reporting up in the 8 right now. I mean, I'll look those numbers up in a moment here. But Jack Tomczak,
explain this to me. Crime is an issue in this election. People are holding the DFL responsible for that crime. In the county where most of the crime is happening, Hennepin County, the people decide to go at this point with the DFL endorsed candidate for more of the same, because the county attorney, you're looking to blame somebody personally for the crime. It's the county attorneys.
Well, and Moriarty, she has a long-time history as a public defender, does not have a good reputation when it comes to fighting crime, if you will. And Martha Dimmick had the endorsement of different police unions and such, but we obviously saw voters go a different direction.
The thing I think is interesting The thing I think is interesting is we saw the DFL DFL primary voters almost reject Ilhan Omar. Came within just a whisper of rejecting Ilhan Omar, and yet somehow the GOP cannot quite seem to make the sale with those Don Samuels voters. And when I say Don Samuels, before he started running his TV ads to try and appeal to the white middle class progressives of Hennepin County, that guy was sounding like Barry Goldwater for a while there. Liz Collin, I mean, your perspective on the Hennepin County voter and why it is that they're not making the connection that law and order comes with a certain party.
Frankly, I wish I could understand the Hennepin County voter a bit more, but maybe I'm thankful that I can't, because I really can't connect the dots for myself. We saw just recently Jim Schultz actually call for Mike Freeman to step down from that position before his time is out because of this ongoing I would say messing up from his office. Yes. Thank you. So I don't really know why one dot isn't connected to the other, because it's very clear to me.
Well, keeping in the conversation in local races, we haven't talked a lot about Minnesota House and Senate races. One key House race, we were talking about the Republicans need to flip 4 seats in the House in order to take the majority. 45A, which is in the Lake Minnetonka area, Andrew Myers, who ran in the old district, I forget what the number was, he lost by barely over 1%. Well, on the election day voting, he has a 6-point lead over Laura Bresnahan with all the precincts reporting. Now, we made the mistake a couple years ago calling races before all the absentee and early votes were counted.
Yeah.
But this is a 1,500 vote lead for Andrew Myers. So depending upon what early votes look like for Laura Bresnahan, that could very well go into the GOP column. Again, the GOP is going to need to pick up a suburban district or two in order to take over the House of Representatives. So that's one we'll keep an eye upon, but looking good so far.
Now, these suburban districts that are what the House of Representatives hinges on, that Jack Chomzak was talking about earlier. That's one of the ones I believe that we were, certainly I was told by some contacts of mine to watch the 45s, A, B, and Senate, along with 41, 35, 36, 14, and 5, just off the top of my head here. Jack Chomzak, how does this jibe with your theory here so far?
That was one of my 17.
Okay.
So we're looking good at this point.
The race is looking better than the Secretary of State's website, where I've got nothing.
I don't know, Mitch, because I live in a suburban district that used to be that was held for forever by Republicans. I live in Sarah Anderson's old district.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned today, doing the only research I've done for this election cycle, that it's a D+22 district that I live in now.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't know. That confuses me.
Move.
I live in Ramsey. Yeah,
I'd love to.
I live in Ramsey County, so.
But that is how districts get worse. People like me move.
Right, Jack, I know. You're right.
That's right. Yeah, someone has to stay there and fight the fight. At least that's what I tell myself every time I sit through CD4 races. By the way, Maylor Zhang is holding up pretty well so far in CD4 with 4 precincts out of 200 reporting. Ramsey County always takes until, Friday to get all of its results in. I don't know what it is. They still have horse-drawn wagons or something.
Well, I think that's such an interesting race as well. She was very present, and we didn't see Betty McCollum.
We haven't seen Betty McCollum in 20 years.
That was basically what it was. Where is Betty?
She's the phantom. She always has been. I don't think I've ever seen Betty McCollum in person.
Has anybody?
And I've lived in that district for 30-odd years now.
And May I handed to her, she was down at the border and bringing those stories back to see for herself what was going on. Her sister, in fact, actually passed away with her family trying to get over here. So she relates to this story as an immigrant, but she says people need to do this legally, and why are we opening up the borders this way?
Her family was illegal immigrants to Thailand when she was before she was born. Yeah, that was her story.
She has a remarkable story.
In a just world, she'd be winning with a 20-point margin here right now. I mean, Betty McCollum just phones it in every single time. Fingers crossed here, because that's the big holy grail we're all looking for as Republicans in Minnesota. The fabled state someday when Republicans get to 40% in the 4th and 5th congressional districts, the DFL can never win another statewide race. It doesn't seem like we're there yet. Hope springs eternal, and good Lord, I thought CC Davis might have the special sauce. I mean, again, in a just world, this would be a whole nother thing. But yeah, the fifth CD is gonna fifth CD, as the kids say these days.
But Scott Jensen spent time in CD5 and CD4, and statewide campaigns don't always do that. So if it doesn't work out this time in those districts, that doesn't mean you stop.
Right.
It means you do more next time.
Yeah, here's hoping that's a lesson the GOP learns, because in the past they have tried and then they stopped.
That's right.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's take a quick break. We are AM 1280 The Patriot, the Northern Alliance Radio Network, along with Alpha News. Liz Cullen, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, myself, Mitch Berg from AM 1280 The Patriot. Brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Got it on the first try. Yay. It's the night is still young. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll see what the future has in store for us. Go nowhere.
There's still no end in sight for rising prices. That makes me even more thankful than ever that I called CarShield. Their price will never go up, so I don't have to worry about how much my repairs will cost when my car breaks down. It's amazing. CarShield offers protection plans for around $100 a month that cover more parts than ever before, whether your car is 5,000 or 150,000 miles. And like I mentioned earlier, when you got coverage today, you'll lock in your price. It'll never go up. So as long as you cover your car, no matter how old it is, you're protected from the rising cost of parts and repairs. CarShield's providing me and millions of hardworking Americans with peace of mind, and they can do the same for you. Get coverage today, folks. Go to carshield.com/Levin or call 800-391-8888 and save 10% either way. That's carshield.com/LEVIN. or call 800-391-8888 to save 10%.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
This is Ted Cruz. Joe Biden is right now using the DOJ and the FBI to target his enemies, to storm President Trump's home, to harass parents and pro-life activists, and to target you. That's why I wrote my newest book, Justice Corrupted: How the Left Has Weaponized Our Legal System, to arm you with the facts, to hold our government accountable.
Read Justice Corrupted, the latest book from best-selling author Senator Ted Cruz, available at Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Often the size of the fish grows each time you tell the story. The roller coaster gets a little taller, and the starry night sky gets even starrier. That's because the magic of some Minnesota moments is hard to put into words. The memories that become part fact, part feeling, but 100% real. Plan your dream trip at exploreminnesota.com. Sponsored by Explore Minnesota Tourism, aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Politics and education. It's often easier to learn what people are against than what they're for. At Education America, we believe there's a better conversation to be had, and it's a conversation about what we're for. Abraham Lincoln famously said, "The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." Let's awaken the world around us to the foundational truths that shaped our nation and see Lincoln's words come to life. Join me, Rebecca Hagstrom, and my new co-host, Abigail Johnson, on Education America, Saturdays at 6 p.m. on AM 1280 The Patriot. And visit SaveTheClassroom.com for podcasts, past episodes, and other resources. Education America. Save the classroom, save the country. Tune in on Saturdays at 6 p.m. on AM 1280 The Patriot. That's SaveTheClassroom.com. Education America. Save the classroom, save the country.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
Rights, immigration, foreign policy, marriage. These subjects are a big part of political dialogue today. We talk about them often on my show. They're at the heart of so many campaigns this election. But what did our founding fathers say about these issues? We've moved so far from the founders' understanding of government that you'll be surprised by their answers. And my favorite college, Hillsdale College, has the best way to learn about the founders' deep and wise insights into human nature. Today, you can join Hillsdale professors Thomas West and David Azerrad as they explore the thoughts and ideas of America's founders in Hillsdale's newest free online course, The Real American Founding, A Conversation. So don't wait, folks. The midterm elections are right around the corner, and you need to understand the founders' thoughts about the pressing issues of their and our time. Watch the trailer video of The Real American Founding, A Conversation. It's a killer. And sign up for this new, completely free online course at levinforhillsdale.com. That's Levin for Hillsdale.com.
AM 1280 The Patriot, alphanews.org, the Northern Alliance Radio Network, along with Liz Collin and Kendall Qualls, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, and myself here. Just a few quick results. We're starting to get a dribble of results. I think that's the proper term for it, Liz Collin. A dribble of results coming in from the 6th Congressional District, the 8th and 7th. Still less than 10% of the 3 big Republican strongholds in the state in so far, which is something to hang on to as we just watched the big glob of votes from Hennepin County come in and just move the race, for the moment at least, completely on to the other side of things here.
Right, and I don't think that is totally unexpected. John Hinderaker, our friend from the Center of the American Experiment, is joining us. He seems a little glum right now, but there's still time, John.
Now you got to understand, Liz, John started his radio career on the Northern Alliance back in 2004, and if he weren't glum, I would not recognize John. John, one of my favorite pessimists. How you doing here tonight?
Yeah, right. Here's the thing. I am not normally glum. I am an optimist. And this afternoon on Powerline, I made predictions.
Yeah, I'm reading
for
this right
tonight's
now,
election.
John. Yeah.
You're reading it, Liz.
Yeah,
I might delete that.
Predictions.
I might delete that post. I don't know. So I was feeling really bold, really optimistic, and I wasn't betting any money. So I thought, what the heck? Why not go big? And I don't feel, we can talk about exactly what I said, but I don't feel like so far that the night is going as well as I expected it to.
I predicted, by the way, that given the amount of PAC money that the DFL has spent in Minnesota, that they would win all statewide races by a minimum of 9 points. What were your predictions?
Well, first of all, at the national level, I picked the Republicans to end the night with 55 Senate seats.
Ooh.
That was bold. It's not looking good right now. I got to admit, Liz, it's not looking good. And I predicted a pickup of 30 House seats, kind of middle of the path. In Minnesota, we're going to take the House. The Republicans are going to take the House and the Senate in Minnesota, just like nationally. The question is, how big is the margin? The House insiders in Minnesota are talking about 15 to 18 seats.
Okay.
A big win in the House. And I picked Scott Jensen to win. That, to us here in Minnesota, you know, frankly, we're talking about margin of victory. The Republicans are going to control the House and the Senate nationally. It's a question of how many seats.
Right.
Same in Minnesota, question of what's the margin. And the big unanswered question for us in Minnesota is who's going to be our governor.
Yeah, so if you had to bet the horse race right now, who would you think? I mean, I figured it would be close, but...
I actually did bet. I actually went to the Predictit website, and I did bet on Scott Johnson. So I have a financial interest here. Now, I bet at 9-1 odds, so it was a kind of a no-brainer. I think Scott's going to win, you know?
You do.
Look, if Tim Walz can get reelected with his record, I mean, who could not, you know, I mean, this is the ultimate test of Minnesota voters, isn't it?
It should be. Now, John, here's my prediction, and that is this. Traditionally in Minnesota, when we have a statewide races, the governor drags the rest of the ticket, the attorney general, the state auditor, and the secretary of state over the finish line. We've seen that in several races, including some of the ones where you're sitting here with us. I have a hunch that the way things are looking, if Scott Jensen wins, it'll be because Jim Schultz and Ryan Wilson dragged him over the finish line. And I'll take the win that way if that's what it takes.
Well, the other thing I would say, Mitch, is, I mean, if we're really going to pick up 15 to 18 seats in the House and increase the GOP lead in the Senate, all these voters in the suburbs who are now pulling the Republican lever after pulling the Democrat lever the last couple of segments, they're not doing that because they're happy with how things are going.
Yeah.
So are they really going to cross over and vote for Tim Walz? I don't see how the Republicans can make those kinds of gains and see Walz get reelected.
I know you weighed into CD2 as well with Tyler Kistner and Angie Craig speaking of the suburbs. Which way do you think that's going?
Close to my heart. That's my district. I live in CD2. I picked Tyler Kistner. What do you think?
And we'll have to see. I'm trying to look for the results right now. The Secretary of State's website is no better than it was when you were doing these shows with us way back when. We're still looking right now. Currently, it's 53-43 Angie Craig on top, but with 10% of the votes in right now, because CD2, like CD4, is always just arithmetically slow in counting their votes. You know this, John.
Well, the trouble with these early evening totals, of course, is that it all depends which votes they've counted.
Yes.
And you have to really drill deep and understand where the votes are coming from to know what it means. I will say, though, overall, the sense I have from what we've seen tonight is that it is not going as well. It's going okay, but it's not going as well for the Republicans as I expected.
You can definitely tell just in the room the last 45 minutes or so, it definitely has calmed down to where things started out. I know you also had some predictions, John, just in other state races. Never fear, poor John Fetterman, you write, will not be going to Washington.
I just gotta, Liz, I gotta see it to believe it, that a guy who is visibly brain impaired is going to be elected to the United States Senate. I won't believe that unless I see it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Lee Zeldin will be elected governor of New York.
That is a winning prediction. We're going to have a Republican governor of New York State. I stand behind that one.
Well, we're going to have to see where those precincts are coming in right now, because right now, I don't know if you've looked at the results yet, Liz, for New York governor's race here right now, but yeah, he's going to have to make up some. He's going to have to make up some votes in upstate New York here. Fingers crossed. I hope you're right. I know I've got family in New York who are crossing their fingers for this as well. John Hinderaker, thank you for joining us here today. Good luck with your predictions. Mine feels a little safer right now. At least I like to declare a moral victory if they don't win by 10 points. That's what a St. Paul guy I am. John, thanks for joining us here today.
Great to be with you, Mitch.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We are Alpha News and AM 1280 The Patriot, live at the DoubleTree in St. Louis Park. Brought to you, of course, by North Oaks Financial Services. Liz Collins from Alpha News joining us. You're having fun yet so far?
We're having a lot of fun. We're just kind of getting started, right?
This is just what you got to go through.
We'll give John his drink back. We'll give it back to him in break.
Ooh, that sounds good. We'll be right back.
AM 1280 The Patriot is WWTC Minneapolis St. Paul, FM 107.5, K298CO Minneapolis, Intelligent Radio. AM 1280 The Patriot.
A teenage jihadist comes to Christ. Hey, it's Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and I met young Ahmed when I visited the Middle East. His father died fighting for ISIS, his mother was an extremist, and young Ahmed was going to be a suicide bomber by killing himself and others, being sold out to violent Islam. Now, his mother and siblings, they came to Christ, they prayed nonstop for his salvation, and when it came, he was beaten nearly to death by extremists. And when I caught up with him several villages over, I asked, Ahmed, what's your Bible mean to you? And he said, I can look here and see where Jesus says they'll hate you because they hated me, and where Jesus says, I'm with you always. Now listen, having a Bible, it meant everything to him and gave him perspective. And his prayer was for believers there who need God's word to endure and persevere. And I said, Ahmed, those Bibles, they're coming. Listeners, you've sent God's word to more than 1,200 Bible-less persecuted believers. We have 400 to go. We have to wrap up this week. Please pray about it at $5 a Bible and call 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD, or give it am980themission.com and help us finish strong.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
Dad, Guess what?
What?
You are going to be a grandfather.
That's great. Not too long ago, moments like this with my daughter would have been a challenge. It was a long road for me to find myself again after Vietnam. It was my neighbor Jim, another Vietnam veteran, who finally convinced me that I could still connect with my family and find that fulfilling life I'd lost. And I went for help down at the VA. If I can take that first step after almost 50 years, I know other veterans can too. Visit maketheconnection.net to find out more.
AM 1280, The Patriot, is WWTC Minneapolis, St. Paul. FM 107.5, K298CO, Minneapolis. Intelligent Radio.
This is an SR News Special Report, Decision 22. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. It's been a good night so far for Republicans. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has won re-election. Still too soon to call a tight race between Senate candidate Herschel Walker and incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock.
Republican voters here expressing why they support Herschel Walker. Becky lives in Atlanta.
I like that Herschel is for God and for Georgia, and he's a great man. He did this job because he sees where we need help.
And she says she voted for Governor Brian Kemp because he kept the state open and got kids back to school.
And that report from SRN's Laura Winters in Florida. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term. And it was also conservative Senator Marco Rubio picking up a third term. This has been an SR News Special Report, Decision 22. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington.
Mark Levin explains his stance.
Since when is it controversial to believe in the country, to embrace our history, our principles, to show respect to men and women in uniform, whether they're from the military or police, to show respect for our flag that's carried into war, to want a sovereign nation with a secure border rather than anarchy on the border where drugs, fentanyl, foreigners who we don't know, including criminals, are pouring into the country?
Mark Levin, weeknights at 8 on AM 1280, The Patriot, Intelligent Radio.
Continuing to bring you the best election night coverage on this Tuesday night, right here on AM 1280 The Patriot, Intelligent Radio. Check out the November Regnery Book of the Month this month. It's Justice Corrupted, How the Left Weaponized Our Legal System. It's written by Ted Cruz. He talks a lot how the Department of Justice needs to be safeguarded and how our government needs to be held accountable. You can sign up to win an autographed copy of this book at the Freedom Fan Club at am1280thepatriot.com. Regnery Publishing is a division of Salem Media Group.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
Join Gene Sullivan each week on Where You Live, where he takes on... Gene, who do you take on anyway?
Maniacal landlords, slippery renters, overbearing HOA boards, demanding homeowners. Oh, and the legislative lunacy brought on by local politicians wanting to fix everything for us.
It's a common sense perspective on the news and stories that affect you the most, right where you live. Join Gene Sullivan every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on AM 1280, The Patriot.
Here's Twyla Brace with today's Health Freedom Minute.
CCHF is working to stop healthcare systems and government from controlling doctors and denying and delaying your access to care. We believe prices should be transparent and care should be affordable, interference-free, and patient-centered. Now is the perfect time to donate to the work of Citizens Council for Health Freedom. We have a $20,000 matching grant for Give to the Max. Our mission is to protect patient and doctor freedom. Please take time right now to go to cchfreedom.org and donate to help us keep medical decisions between you and the doctor. Use our $20,000 match to double your impact and ours. Go to cchfreedom.org. cchfreedom.org.
Help us secure health freedom for all. Visit cchfreedom.org. That's cchfreedom.org.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-884-9018. 800-884-9018. 800-884-9018. That's 800-884-9018.
Warning, warning, warning. Once you taste the Rack Shack's Patriot Burger, other burgers will never measure up.
Hey, I'm Nick Anderson, General Manager of AM 1280 The Patriot, and we've partnered with my friend Keith Hittner Sr. from the Rack Shack Barbecue to create a burger worthy of the Patriot name.
It's a half-pound burger that's red, white, and blue through and through. American cheese on top, and the American flag proudly waves over the bun. The Patriot Burger comes with your choice of any of our delectable sides, like our famous hand-cut fries, all just for $12.80.
Best burger in town as far as I'm concerned, and it's $12.80 anytime, any day. Try today at the Rack Shack Barbecue at the Cedar Cliff Center at Nichols and Cliff in Eagan.
Be careful. Once you try a Patriot Burger, you may never go back to a regular burger.
That's the Rack Shack Barbecue at RackShackBarbecue.com.
Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack Barbecue, yeah.
I appeal to you to fight. I fully recognize not everyone has a fighting nature, but everyone can help fighters. What's wrong is not to do either. If the troops have no supplies, the troops are worthless. This station is a fighter. So there's a very simple way for you to help this station, and that is just patronize their sponsors.
Help us continue to keep the Twin Cities right by supporting the local businesses you hear on this station.
The following program was pre-recorded.
The polls are closed and the results are coming in. Live election night coverage on AM 1280 The Patriot is sponsored by North Oaks Financial Services. Now, with color commentary and intelligent perspective on the key races, here's the Northern Alliance Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Brad Carlson, Liz Collin from Alpha News. I'm Mitch Berg from the Northern Alliance. Jack Tomczak is roaming around the house somewhere. We have more results to talk about here. Liz Collin, you were looking at the governor's race last I checked?
Yeah, it looks like at this point, Mitch, just about 30% of the precincts are reporting across the state, and Tim Walz leading at 58% to nearly 39% where Scott Jensen is. So, well, again, that may not be the best. We have to consider that the dump just happened from Hennepin and Ramsey counties.
Correct.
As well.
Yes, that is correct. Almost all, I think 96%, 97% of Hennepin County is in right now. So that's the worst of the bad. Well, until Ramsey County comes in, that's the worst of the bad news right now. And we've got literally less than 10% of CDs 6, 7, and 8 in at this point. And those, with any luck at all, will be some relative Republican strongholds. On the other hand, some of the races that we were hoping for in the north suburbs, Brad Carlson, not panning out quite like we hope. It looks like 35A and 35B, the two races in the House up there in the House of, I believe, Jim Abler's district, falling a bit short. Zach Stevenson and Jerry Newton ahead at this point, although there's still some counting, but races are still very close. Still.
Yeah, obviously 35 changed quite a bit. You got Anoka and Coon Rapids. And as you alluded to, in 35A, that's a district that's been heavily focused upon because you had House members Zach Stevenson and John Heinrich, both incumbents, redistricted into the same district. Right now, 15 of the 16 precincts reporting Zach Stevenson has a 5-point lead there. And Jerry Newton, less than a 1-point lead, with 12 of 14 precincts reporting in 35B. So Polly Madison, his Republican opponent, still very much in that one. One race that was called earlier in the Senate, Kelly Morrison, Senate District 45, which is kind of Lake Minnetonka area. She won pretty handily over Kathleen Folk, who was very highly thought of in Republican circles. So if there is a red wave, it's not materializing at this point.
Well, at least not in CD3 right now, in the parts of 8 that we've heard from yet. Now, there's a ways to go. But, yeah, there's a couple of disappointing races and some let's just say some what am I looking for? Clenched teeth going on right now. A lot of close races coming up here that we're going to be following here. Still, Jack Tomczak's prediction. I think John Hinderaker said he's looking at maybe 12 to 18. I think.
Right.
So maybe.
Republican pickups?
That's what he was
in the
saying
House
when he was just here just now.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
We
here.
called
see
them
how
bold
things-
predictions. Yes.
Very.
That's right. Exceptionally bold predictions.
Yes.
So all eyes are on the northern suburbs here, and with us to discuss the northern suburbs, Mr. Northern Suburb himself, Mike Murphy joins us here. Mike, welcome back to the Northern Alliance Radio Network.
Hey, thanks. I think John's prediction, I think is correct.
You do?
I do. I think that Minnesotans are sick and tired of the business as usual politics, and it's time for new blood.
Well, we have to hope so. Liz Collin?
I know that Mike is in his own race himself tonight for re-election, the mayor of Circle Pines. How's it looking?
Actually, it's Lexington.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So I'll break the bad news, but I just found out that I'm not being reelected.
Well, you're not?
No, unfortunately, I lost to an ex-fire chief of the community who was given the opportunity to resign or be fired for personnel issues, and he had a vendetta against me in the city, and he ran for mayor. And due to the litigation that's pending in this lawsuit under his leadership as fire chief, I couldn't discuss it as a campaign thing. So he got to run around Lexington pretending to be the fire chief hero, which he's really not. And it's going to cost our taxpayers hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in penalty or fees, to the plaintiffs.
Is it too early to talk about rematch here yet? Are you going to come back around here, Mike Murphy?
I'm not going anywhere. You pay for what you get, right? So if the taxpayers in my community, they're going to have regret for their actions tonight. And I door knocked. I campaigned as hard as I could, talked to as many people, and I'll just say it, crap happens, right? And I'm not upset about it. It is what it is, and I'll live to fight another day. Thankfully, it's only a 2-year term for that because we're a smaller city, still surrounded in the metropolitan area. But I'm hopeful for the Republicans overall tonight in our House and Senate races. Of course, Jim Schultz and Ryan Wilson and Kim Crockett, and our next governor, Scott Jensen, who had the privilege and honor of endorsing at our state convention. I'm optimistic across the board that we're going to have leadership in the state of Minnesota where Republicans are going to govern.
Brad Carlson.
I think it was former New York City Mayor Ed Koch who once said, the people have spoken and they will be punished. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Mike Murphy?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but it happened. And
well, of course, it's your community. I understand the sentiment. You hate
I love
to say
my
that.
city.
Yeah.
I love my community, and I will always be there for the community. But at the end of the day, it's an election, and that's what we're here. That's what we're here for.
So what is up with the northern suburbs, Mike Murphy?
I don't know. People are crazy, right? But it's election season. I've heard from a lot of people tonight that there's split tickets, that we're voting for Republicans and we're also voting for Democrats in the same ballot.
Well, Channel 11 right now is announcing Tyler Kistner has pulled ahead of Angie Craig, 51 to 46.
Well, that's some good news.
It could very well be. I have no idea how many votes are
that
in
would
right
be
now.
26% reporting.
Okay.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Looks like Goodhue County came in most likely.
Okay.
It's the first applause we've heard in a long time tonight. So.
Yeah. One of the media folks here at GOP Victory headquarters had said on Twitter, the crowd is looking a lot sleepier than they did when this first got started. So, hard to disagree. I got to admit.
I saw a screenshot earlier, Democrat headquarters. There was like 4 people there, and I don't know, that says something. But, just to recap on my race, it's not a big deal. I will live to fight another day, and
amen.
The bigger goal is making sure that Republicans are governing the state, and we're doing it right, and I'm not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
Good news.
You have a pressing interest in law enforcement as a former law enforcement officer, as I recall here right now.
It's been a while, but yeah.
It's been a while, but you never leave, I'm told. So Hennepin County appears to be well on its way. Actually, it appears to have officially elected Mary Moriarty as the Hennepin County prosecutor, although a 41% minority actually voted for the dissenter, the relative law and order Martha Dimmick here. Mm-hmm. So the DFL in Hennepin County just keeps on giving the Republican Party campaign fodder. We'll have to thank him for that.
You do, but I feel bad for those that live in Hennepin County that have to be under that so-called leadership, right? I mean, it's not just an issue with law enforcement. Our police officers are doing a great job with what they have. It's the judges and the prosecutors, and Moriarty is going to do a terrible job.
Absolutely. I don't think that's a big stretch. I can hardly wait. I mean, with all due respect to my friends in Minneapolis, I hope you have a better couple of years than it looks like you might.
Same thing with Sheriff Jai Hansen should have been on that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, a lot of work to be done in Hennepin County, clearly, and in the 5th Congressional District. Mike Murphy, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
And let's definitely talk mayor race here in a couple of years. I have a hunch it's got to be on the docket here, doesn't it?
I think there's some other stuff in my future, so
oh, really?
We'll see what happens.
Have your people call our people. Mike Murphy, thank you for joining us here, ladies and gentlemen. Alpha News and AM 1280 The Patriot live at the DoubleTree in St. Louis Park for the GOP Victory Party. We're in the tense middle hours of these events here, and looking to see what happens as we start to get some more Republican-friendly territory dropping off numbers here. We hear some applause going on around and about. We will. Looks like the Wisconsin results are starting to come in here, so we'll talk about that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break here right now. AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News live at the DoubleTree. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
It doesn't matter what your politics are or who you voted for. Everyone should have the right to express themselves freely. Sadly, the big tech monopoly has instead opted for censorship. To fight back against big tech's control of the internet, I use ExpressVPN. Free to access tech giants make all their money by tracking your searches, video history, and everything you click on, then selling off your sensitive data. When you use the ExpressVPN app on your computer or phone, the software hides your IP address from third parties. That makes your activity more difficult for companies to trace and sell to advertisers, and it helps keep your online presence more anonymous. ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from cyber criminals, and it just takes one click to protect all your devices. Revoke big tech's right to your data. Visit expressvpn.com/mark. That's expressvpn.com/mark to get 3 extra months free.
AM 1280 The Patriot. Salmon fishing in Alaska, at an amusement park in Green Bay, or taking a stroll through Loring Park. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280 The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
Hi, this is Al Malmberg inviting you to join us on the World of Aviation each Sunday morning at 10:05, right here on 1280 The Patriot, as we talk with those who have had incredible life stories in aviation, like Jessica Cox, who was born without arms but went on to become a pilot and black belt in Taekwondo, and Gordy Lewis, who began flying when most people are retiring. Gordy started flying at the age of 67. That's every Sunday at 10:05 a.m., right here on 1280 The Patriot.
Hi, this is Tim O. from the Kingdom Builders. Hey, did you know that at the Kingdom Builders, we do more than just install new roofs? We can replace your soffits and fascia with maintenance-free metal wraps or even custom-colored LP SmartSide material. We also install seamless gutters in any number of colors to match your siding or trim. Gutters are one of the main factors in keeping your basement dry by collecting and channeling rainwater away from your foundation. They can more than pay for themselves compared to the damage caused by a water-soaked finished basement. They also help prevent erosion in your flower beds and landscaping by controlling the waterfalls coming off your roof. And if you're tired of cleaning out clogged gutters and downspouts, we have a number of gutter covers that will save you time and a good bit of cash compared to many others out there in the market. Let us show you the difference Kingdom Builders can do for you. Give us a call at 612-900-9166 or go to thekingdombuilders.com. Like we always say, we're not salesmen, we're just great roofers.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in Minnesota.
This message presented by the Minnesota State High School League and the Minnesota Interscholastic Activities Administrators Association.
You can listen to AM 1280 The Patriot on all Amazon Echo devices. Simply ask Alexa to play The Patriot Minneapolis, and you'll hear your favorite hosts.
This is Dennis Prager, and thanks for listening to me on your Alexa device.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. Did you know withdrawing your cash from the bank can be very risky? That's right, I said it. Let me educate you about this. Banks are now required to spy on us for the government and to report any behavior they think is suspicious. Man, oh man, I was shocked as I read The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America. This new war against cash is really a war against the Constitution, against all freedom-loving Americans. So listen to me. You must read The Secret War on Cash. Get your free copy by calling 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com. Now, this war on cash is growing daily, and it also includes all forms of digital money. So please get and read The Secret War on Cash, free to my listeners, by calling right now, 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646.
AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News live at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park at the GOP Victory Party with Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson. Liz Collin is out on the house right now looking for people to talk with here. Shouldn't be hard to do. Not even, it's a 20-point race. Mayor Zhang, with about a third of the vote in Ramsey County, is 63-36 right now in Ramsey County, which is, she could be doing worse. We'll say that. For a Republican in Ramsey County against Betty the Phantom McCollum, she could be doing much worse. C.C. Davis underperforming, I think, expectations, 74-24 in Hennepin County with 5 precincts to go out of 217. Tom Emmer with about 40% of the vote in right now, crushing Gene Hendricks, who, exactly, 61-38 right now up in the 6th CD. Michelle Fischbach with about a third of the vote in, running away right now in the CD7, as predicted for years now. CD7 will never go DFL again as long as the sun rises in the east. Now that what's his face left office, Colin Peterson. Thank you very much. And after a brief early scare with about a little under a quarter, about a fifth of the vote in right now, Pete Stauber ahead to a significant lead over Jen Schultz. Again, that could wobble back and forth just a tad as we go through the evening here. But yeah, that's Stauber's off to a good start. He's been considered a pretty solid race so far. Brad Finstead in the first right now with about a third of the vote in, off to a commanding lead over Jeff Ettinger in the 1st Congressional District, more or less as expected here right now. So I don't think we have any big surprises here yet, other than the fact that the big prediction so far, one way or the other, has been, does Tyler Kistner have a chance of upsetting Angie Craig so far here right now? You've got people who say could happen. You've got people who are saying absolutely not a chance in heck. And right now we've got evidence for both cases here, I think it's fair to say. Jeff, Brad, any commentary on the congressional races so far before we go to the State House and Senate?
Yeah, really the only mystery here as far as the U.S. House delegation out of Minnesota was CD2. All the other seats were going to hold for whichever party had control of them. That is a D+1 district in CD2. I predicted Kistner would win only because there were ads coming out from the Craig campaign saying that he lied about being in combat, facing combat, and he had a very strong, he was prepared for that, and it was a press conference within the last couple of days where he came out very strongly refuting that, and yet those ads were still running as of last evening on the Craig campaign. Now, did enough people see them? Will that still resonate enough? In a close race, it could matter, so we'll see. I predicted Kistner would win, but I'll tell you, the way that things are shaping up nationally for the U.S. House, I saw a report, I think, from one of the guys from Cook Political. Right now, the Republicans are on track to get 224 seats. You need 218 for a majority. 224 is not a red wave. I'm sorry. By any metric, that is not a red wave. And the way the U.S. Senate looks right now, some are saying it's more likely that the Democrats flip a seat than Republicans. Although Herschel Walker, with about 86% reporting, is up to 49.7 to 48.6 over Raphael Warnock. So that could still flip for the Republicans. And if that does, that means the Republicans have to hold all of their held seats, including in Pennsylvania, and that one's very tight, as of now. But I'm sorry, I kind of delved into nationally. We want to talk about
that's fine. Speaking of nationally here, in Wisconsin, with about 70% in Johnson leading Barnes by just under a point. A little closer than I expected.
Well, I had seen that Madison and Milwaukee had been counted very early, so that's factored in there already. So Johnson's going to be reelected. I feel confident saying. I felt confident in saying a lot of things at the start of the night that haven't necessarily come to fruition, but I feel confident in that one.
Fair enough. Jack Tomczak, you came in here saying 17 seats right out of the gate. How are you feeling now?
Fewer than
House.
17
Let's
in the Minnesota House.
Yeah. Minnesota House. Yes, excuse me, that's right.
Did you cover the Don Raleigh?
Yes, we did. We haven't yet. No, in fact, we haven't gotten into the Minnesota House races yet. One result I want to throw in here so far, by the way, one of the Senate races I've been watching that I just took a quick look at here up in CD5, Tom Box's old district. One we've been watching to see if that's a hold for the GOP, with about a quarter of the votes in right now. Paul Utke, the Republican, running away right now, but with about almost a 50-point margin right now up in the 5.
Actually, it was Senate District 3 where Bach endorsed Republican Andrea Zapancic, the former mayor of Babbitt. She's up comfortably by 12 points, but again, only about a third of the precincts in at this.
You're right. I'm mixing up the 5.
25% of the precincts reporting approximately, so it's still early.
Yeah, no, you're right, absolutely.
And then Senate District 7, Rob Farnsworth, that's the late, great Dave Tomasoni's old district. Rob Farnsworth, who lost by less than 1% in a House race back in 2020, he's now throwing his hat in the ring for Senate in SD7. We don't have anything on that one yet.
Yeah, Cal Barr cruising to a victory in Senate District 31.
My new senator.
Yep, that's right. Jason Ruffalo going down pretty hard right there. In Senate District 32, Michael, I'm going to say Kroin, since I'm a German speaker, over Kate Luthner. That appears to be a done deal up there. And, of course, I'm assuming that's solid Republican territory up there. Karen Housley cruising to a 7-point win so far with 4 precincts to go in her district. I think she's a safe bet right now. John Hoffman, however, in 34 over Karen Attia.
Personal friend of mine, Karen Attia. I had high hopes for that district because Hoffman was representing Coon Rapids, Brooklyn Park, and Champlin, but then it got redistricted into Rogers and Dayton in addition to Champlin. And less of Brooklyn Park, less of Coon Rapids. Very favorable to the Republicans. And Karen Attia did better, but not nearly enough.
Speaking of districts that are favorable enough, looks like Jim Abler with 1 precinct to go, 29-30, reporting Jim Abler is ahead right now by just under a point over Carrie Rayrauer, the proprietor of the most annoying ads in the political on political TV this past cycle.
Yeah, it's about 283 votes with 1 precinct remaining, so I think Abler will be going back to the Senate. Roger Chamberlain, that's a more difficult district. He only about 40% of the precincts reporting. He's up by about 5 points. So Warren Limmer, reelected. He always seems to be in trouble, yet cruises to reelection by 10 points, it looks like.
That's right. He's the one that's always on the brink of some kind of a problem here. Now, looking at one of the races, but let's cut to the podium. Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I woke up this morning feeling really confident. I still do.
C.C. Davis, Republican candidate, CD5.
So more than money, I thank you for your support, your kind words, your encouragement, and your prayers. All right. So, 16 months ago, 16 months I've been running this race. And leaders in this state and nationally didn't give me the time of day. They said, you're absolutely crazy to run against a squad member in a district that is absolutely unwinnable with unlimited resources. Why do that? Should we leave the biggest American-hating socialist squad member unopposed? Absolutely not. We fight in Minnesota. That's what we do. Abraham Lincoln once said, we will never be destroyed from outside. If we falter and if we lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves from within. The simple fact is that Ilhan Omar is still too far left and too far extreme for Congressional District 5 and Minnesota. So I will be keeping an eye on her. I got into this race to dissolve the divide, to stand in and stand up for duty. That's what we do. We look for leadership, and when we don't have it, we step up, we oppose them, we give them a challenge, and we let them know that they're being watched and that they will be held accountable. Regardless of the income, we live to fight another day. So I just want to share a little bit with you, and I'm gonna bid you good night. While we didn't get the victory we were hoping for, we've achieved a great deal on this campaign. My campaign received close to 90,000 donations from roughly 42,000 individuals in all 50 states with an average contribution of $36. So this is a grassroots, yes. And you are in there. I know you're in there. Watch for your thank you notes. Yes. We built a grassroots movement by showing up and listening and caring about individuals, caring about families, and caring about the people of Minnesota. Together, we will dissolve the divide. And so I encourage you, don't give up. Keep that smile that you're showing me on your face. We will live to do this again and see another day. And in the meantime, until every single precinct is reported, until there are checks marks by every match, we're going to hang in there all night. God bless you. God bless Minnesota. And God bless United States of America.
You made the rain, so when it falls on me, should I go?
Thank you. Stay tuned.
We are
Voting
AM
isn't
1280
over
The
yet.
Patriot
Stay
and Alpha News live at the GOP Victory Party at the Doubletree. And we will be back in just a couple of moments here with some of the latest results. Go nowhere.
The greatest heights, they never seem so tall.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
Yellowstone Television's #1 show returns with a highly anticipated Season 5 premiere exclusively on Paramount Network. From co-creator Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone tells the story of the Dutton family and their struggle to control the largest cattle ranch in the United States. Featuring an all-star cast led by Academy Award winner Kevin Costner as John Dutton, a man who will stop at nothing to protect his land, his family, and his way of life. This year, John must navigate through treacherous political waters as he simultaneously attempts to calm the ever-brewing storm on his family's ranch. Every choice, every move he makes will be witnessed by the citizens of Montana as John journeys along the road to the governor's office. Delving into betrayal, murder, and the turmoil of family legacy, this brand new season of Yellowstone demonstrates that power has a price. Yellowstone returns Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern for an epic 2-hour premiere event exclusively on Paramount Network.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
It's not over. Unplanned pregnancies still happen. I'm Marianne Kuharski, Director of Pro-Life Across America. In my 30-plus years, I've never seen such a concerted attempt to silence our efforts, and at a time when it's most needed. There's a powerful effort to prevent and block our pro-life messages. Our billboards, social media, and digital ads are all impacted. Our messages feature a hotline number connecting callers with more than 3,000 pregnancy support centers across America, offering alternatives to abortion, free ultrasound, and pregnancy assistance. Babies' lives are being saved. The need still exists. It really does. And Pro-Life Across America needs your help. Please find us at prolifeacrossamerica.org.
Did you know I could suck my thumb before I was born? Yep, we all started small.
Pro-Life Across America, the Billboard people.
I'm Staff Sergeant Mark Anthony Madrid.
Staff Sergeant Samantha Cowell.
I'm Staff Sergeant Alex Staff Sergeant William Lewis, and I am proud to defend my family and our nation.
The Air Force Reserve is part of the story of this great nation.
I'm grateful that I have a chance to wear the uniform of the heroes that went before me.
I am proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference in the world.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as reserve citizen airmen. Even as technology evolves and changes, our commitment to defend and protect this nation remains steadfast. We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving. We celebrate our proud history and look towards an exciting and uniting future. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
And I'm proud to be a member.
And I'm proud to serve in the United States. And I am proud to protect our country.
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
AFReserve.com.
What's your favorite high school sports memory? A late-inning rally? A game-winning shot? A photo finish? Maybe it's a pep rally or a pregame ritual. Maybe it's the euphoria of a late-night bus ride home after a hard-fought win. Maybe it's having pizza with teammates after the game. Now, imagine if it never happened at all. School sports need your help. With budgets getting tighter, it's more than the games that are on the line. It's all the traditions, the community pride, the culture of your hometown high school. Plus, all those memories that are on the line, too. What can you do? It's simple. Buy a ticket when you can. Go to a game. Take the whole family. Let's do everything we can to keep those cherished school sports memories alive.
This message presented by the Minnesota State High School League and the Minnesota Interscholastic Activities Administrators Association.
Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack barbecue.
Pick it up or take it out, RackShackToGo.com or RackShackDelivery.com. It's so easy. Hey, you've been working hard. Half the staff is gone, and your crew needs a lift. Go to RackShackToGo.com for pickup or RackShackDelivery.com, and we'll bring it out to you.
It's America's food and the right thing to do. Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack barbecue. Yeah.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World. It is the Northern Alliance Radio Network and Alpha News at alphanews.org. Brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Thanks to North Oaks for sponsoring our broadcast here tonight. Liz Collin from Alpha News, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, and myself from the Northern Alliance Radio Network. And the big news, and it's not good news, that came in during this last break here. Brad Carlson, the AP has called the governor's race here in Minnesota.
Yeah, this would be a home for
Brad's mic, a little
Might be a switch right there. Broadcast professional.
I am a broadcast professional. Yeah, I am Jack Tomczak. Don't you dare. So, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, not terribly surprising. I thought it would be a lot closer, but Tim Walz, it has been called by AP and many other outlets, is going to be reelected as governor of Minnesota. The only question now is He outperformed what he did in the suburbs in 2018. So now the question is, will that be enough to elevate Julie Blaha and Keith Ellison, who were the most vulnerable DFL incumbents of the statewide races? Time will tell.
Yeah,
and you're kind of poring over the numbers, I know, Mitch Berg.
I'm looking over this number right now. The Attorney General race now, as of this moment, is about a 9-point race. Keith Ellison's ahead of Jim Schultz, 54-45, at the same time where the race was called for the governor. So doing the math in my head, it could be done. It could be done. Fingers crossed here. We'll come back to that. And Julie Blaha leading Ryan Wilson by 8 points right now, 51-46 right now. So actually, Wilson performing a little better at this point in the evening here right now. So not the news we wanted to hear at this point of the evening, Liz Collin.
Yeah, and I think, just 41% of the precincts reporting on the Secretary of State's website, with 56% going to Walz at this hour and 40% to Scott Jensen. It's a 200,000 vote count split, and I think many people in this room thought it was going to be a lot closer.
Yeah, and I think the big casualty of the evening, by the way, so far is Trafalgar polling. And whatever secret sauce they have, I think we could say they are no longer the it poll. Survey USA certainly wins the horse race contest so far tonight. I think that's fair to say among the pollsters so far, Jack Tomczak. So looking at those are the statewide officer races right now. Looking at the congressional races one more time here. Let's get you a quick update here right now. With roughly a third of the votes in right now, of course, Brad Fidstead running away in the 1st Congressional District. Tyler Kistner still holding on to a lead right now, almost 5 points, actually just a shade over 5 points in the 2nd Congressional District with, again, about a third of the precincts reporting right now. And 3rd Congressional District, it's basically a 20-point race. Dean Phillips cruising back to a victory. It's official. All the precincts are in right now in the 3rd Congressional District. The 4th, with about 3/4 of the votes in, it's pulled away. Betty McCollum is 67-32 over Melo Shang, which, frankly, is better than I expected for a Republican in 4th CD at this point here. So fingers crossed there. Cicely Davis conceded a little bit ago. That was a 50-point race in CD5. Tom Emmer cruising in CD6, and with about a little over a third of the precincts in, Michelle Fischbach and Pete Stauber, both solidly ahead of the 6th, 7th, and 8th congressional districts. Are there enough votes in the rest of the state to make it even a fight right now in the Secretary of State, State Auditor, and Attorney General? Thank you very much, Liz
There are
Collin.
probably enough votes, but I think we got to look at whether or not there was a red wave or not. And if there was a red wave, did it skip Minnesota? We lost. We thought we would pick up. We would add House seats. We've lost at least one incumbent there. Eden Prairie has gone. I thought Eden Prairie was going to come our way. It didn't.
North Burbs are not looking good at this point.
I don't think we're going to win a statewide constitutional office.
It's not looking.
It's not looking good.
Yeah. If
there was no wave, we don't win those things, and it looks like there was no wave.
Well, it's interesting. The wave clearly has hit elsewhere. We're watching Fox News in the room here tonight at headquarters. J.D. Vance, we just saw him on stage as he defeats Tim Ryan in the Ohio U.S. Senate race. Fox is projecting that the Georgia governor, Kemp, has defeated the Democrat in that state, but it definitely does seem to be at this hour that the red wave has skipped this state.
Yeah, Florida and Georgia are the only ones that have either met or exceeded the expectations for a red wave. Any idea what those particular states have in common? Oh, yeah, they defied the COVID lockdowns and the excessive heavy-handed lockdowns that were implemented in other states, and their economies are thriving as a result, and they stuck their thumb in the eye of former President Donald Trump. This is kind of the prevailing sentiment now. If indeed the Republicans do not get the U.S. Senate, and it doesn't look like they will, and they might squeak out a majority in the House, but it's not going to be of red wave proportions. How, in good conscience, can Donald Trump run for president in 2024? Again, he doesn't subscribe to any conventional wisdom, but how can the world, after the two governors that defied him, that didn't engage him, and his hand-picked candidates were a resounding failure tonight, how can he run now in 2024?
And speaking of hand-picked candidates, other than J.D. Vance, I mean, the New Hampshire race, which looked like it could be a possible pickup. That's
not even close.
It's going to, the governor's race in New York. I mean, we were hoping Lee Zeldin. It was 11 points, which, frankly, for a Republican in New York State, isn't bad.
We were talking off air, last week. The ironic thing is Kathy Hochul is going to survive simply because so many Republicans have left the state of New York. There just weren't enough. I mean, there were some disaffected Democrats that were willing to throw Lee Zeldin a bone, but it wasn't going to be nearly enough.
So let's talk about Minnesota state legislative races here. With one precinct to go, looks like Jim Aberler will squeak out an ever so slight victory. Roger Chamberlain, with about a third of the votes in, is still ahead in District 36 right now. Karen Attia looks like she's not going to pull out against John Hoffman.
Buzzkill.
34. Carmen Housley, of course, with 4 precincts to go, still running ahead right now. Of course, Cal Barr, your new state senator, good friend of this show and of Elephant in the Room, actually. You're part of the fellow guest singer club with Elephant in the Room, so that's right.
It's amazing. Senate District 41, Tom Dipple, with 18 of 31 precincts reporting, 5-vote lead. 98-52 to 98-47. Unbelievable. So, that's 0.02%. A lot of money was poured into that district because it is an open seat. And again, Tom Dipple's GOP primary opponent endorsed the DFLer in the general election. So a lot of focus on that race. Go ahead, Mitch.
Let's take a quick break right now. We'll come back. We'll talk about Minnesota House races. Some disappointing results, I think, to be seen there. We'll see how Jack Tomczak and John Hinderaker's predictions are faring in the Minnesota State House of Representatives. It's looking like my prediction, if the DFL wins by less than 10 points, we can consider it a moral victory for all the money they've spent. Maybe the best one of the night so far. Liz Cullen, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, myself, Mitch Berg, live at the DoubleTree at the GOP party, victory party tonight. AM 1280, The Patriot, Alpha News. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mark Levin, here to share about a ministry that's all about saving babies. Preborn. Preborn empowers mothers with unplanned pregnancies to choose life by introducing them to the precious life growing inside of them.
She did let me hear the heartbeat, and I was like, wow, it's something like living inside of me. It was a beautiful thing to hear.
When a mother meets her baby on ultrasound, it's a divine encounter, and the majority of the time, she will choose life. Our goal is to save 10,000 babies' lives. For $140, you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds, and help rescue 5 babies. And now through a match, your tax-deductible gift is doubled. To donate, please dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say the word baby. Or donate securely at preborn.com/Mark. That's preborn.com/Mark.
Candidate quality matters.
AM 1280, The Patriot.
Are you or a loved one struggling with drug or alcohol use? Maybe you're not sure if it's addiction or if treatment's needed. If so, you're not alone. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 19.3 million people aged 18 or older had a substance use disorder in the past year. Hazelden Betty Ford offers a free confidential assessment. Inpatient, outpatient, and virtual options are available. It's time to take back your life. Hazelden Betty Ford can help. This message sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford, the Minnesota Broadcasters Association, and this station.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
At Salem Media Group, we are looking for sales professionals with a rare blend of talent and skill to be a part of our community. First, you know beyond any doubt that sales is your thing. And while your current situation may not embody this ideal, you are still committed to the consultative process, a sales method that incorporates creativity and partnership deeply rooted in a matchmaker philosophy. Second, you truly are a fanatic about prospecting. You love the hunt. You think about new business all the time and always have your antennas up for leads that make sense. And third, you are what we at Salem Media Group call an appointment procurement professional. That's right. You're skilled and adept at gaining a face-to-face audience with key decision makers to investigate win-win opportunities.
If this threefold identity describes you, call me, Nick Anderson, General Manager at 651-289-4408 or visit us at am1280thepatriot.com.
Hi, I'm Anthony Commerce with Commerce Water. Let us build you a long-lasting, high-efficiency water softener. If you contact us now, you'll get $400 off our new wet technology water softener. Do it right the first time. Contact commerce.com.
Sightseeing in Paris, at the mall in Bloomington, or on horseback in Dallas. We're where you are. Listen to AM 1280, The Patriot, at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
With the upcoming midterms, keep something in mind. You don't just vote at the ballot box. You vote with your every dollar you spend and the companies you spend them with. Verizon Wireless customers, you're supporting a company that dropped One American News. AT&T customers, your company owns far-left CNN. And T-Mobile, your CEO reportedly advised Democrats on how to beat Trump. Don't give your money to woke wireless companies. Instead, choose Pure Talk, a company that believes in family values. And they also believe in giving you great service at a low cost, like unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $30 a month. Average family saves almost $1,000 a year. Same network, same coverage, same phone, lower bill, and 30 days risk-free. Dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say Mark Levin, and make the switch, finally, to Pure Talk.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World. AM 1280, The Patriot and Alpha News with live coverage of the GOP Victory Party at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Thank you very much. Where, of course, we're brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Kendall Qualls, Brad Carlson, Jack Tomczak roaming the halls here somewhere right now. I'm Mitch Berg from the Northern Alliance as well. Just a couple of results from the Minnesota State House races before we go back out to the House here right now. In District 35B, there's no incumbent here, but Jerry Newton's beat Paulie Madison by about a point in a district we were hoping to pick up there. 35B, 35A, Zach Stevenson up by 5 points over John Heinrich. So it looks like the DFL is, as you were saying earlier, it looks like the DFL is overperforming their 2020 performance in the northern suburbs, or suburbs in general.
All of the DFL statewide candidates outperforming what they did in 2018, including in my home county, Anoka County. So if that is the case, it's going to be very difficult to see how Jim Schultz and Ryan Wilson make up that ground in their respective races for AG and Auditor. So
this is not the night we were looking forward to.
No, definitely not.
We have Liz Cullen, I believe. Actually, it's we do not have out in the house here right now. Okay, so we'll watch for that.
We got some bad information.
Yeah, things people coming and going here. So, yeah, looking at some of the other races. Elliot Engen appears, however, to have cruised to a victory in He eked out a 3-point victory in House District 36.
Well, good, because in his House District in 2020, he lost by exactly 100 votes, which is like 0.3%.
Yeah.
So, good for Elliot, friend of the broadcast. He came on my show last month, and impressive young man.
Yep. On the other hand, Heidi Gunderson, well, with about 2/3 of the votes in the B side of 36, down currently by about 7 points. It's going to be tough to make up that margin. Heidi Gunderson, of course, a longtime friend of the show, has run a couple times, has lost a couple heartbreaker race, one heartbreaker race before, and that looks to be another one.
I mean, Vadnais Heights, where she lives, is a difficult one. And Senate District 36, again, this was the Senate district that had the highest amount of independent expenditure dollars poured into that district, I think it was like 1.5 million. Roger Chamberlain down 3.5 points with 24 of 29 precincts reporting. That vote total is like 1,300. So depending upon where those precincts are, we don't know. That's going to be a tough lift for Roger Chamberlain to be reelected.
It will. And boy, having Roger Chamberlain replaced by Heather Gustafson, that's adding really nasty insult to injury, quite frankly. Kendall Qualls, Brad Carlson. Kendall Qualls, comments on the evening so far?
Well,
you go ahead.
Yeah, well, if anything, I think everyone is really surprised that we're not seeing the big wave here. I know Roger Chamberlain, good man. I hope he pulls it out for the night.
We have Liz Collin out in the house right now. We'll throw it out to Liz Collin out on the floor.
Is a Bloomington police officer. We thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate it.
You fought the good fight, doing it all the right way. But what do you make of what we're seeing tonight?
Well, I got to be honest. I'm very disappointed tonight. Look, when we talk about public safety, when we talk about victims, who's advocating for our victims, I don't think we saw that tonight. And I'm disappointed.
We've been talking at great length tonight with just Mary Moriarty winning the Hennepin County attorney's race. Why is this something that you think people can't connect the dots on when it comes to the power of that office, and perhaps what we'll see play out now?
Well, there's definitely a disconnect there, and I don't know why that is, and if I did, I would probably be winning the Hennepin County Sheriff race right now. But I will say we have a long road ahead of us as far as law enforcement goes with Mary Moriarty as our new Hennepin County attorney.
And just with the race for Hennepin County Sheriff, how is that looking at this point?
I think DeWanna Witt won. DeWanna, she's going to do a good job. I think the people of Hennepin County will be happy with what's going on with what she does. However, we need somebody that's more of an advocate for our victims, and that's what I would have liked to see for that position.
Anything more you can say about your own political future?
Right now, we got to get this crime under control, and that's what I'm focused on.
And, and you've signed up for the job being a police officer, which we thank you so much for. So if we can count on anybody, we know it's you, Jai. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Liz.
We appreciate it. Back to you.
Thank you, Liz Collin, out on the floor. Kendall Qualls, Brad Carlson up here. I think we have one more hour to go. Am I right? Yeah, we have one more hour to go here. It's a thinning and subdued crowd here.
Understandable. Yeah.
And it's understandable. It's not the evening we were hoping for. It's certainly not the evening that the pundits were telling us. And yet, Matt Burke's on the stage right now here. I don't know if we want to. I don't know if he's conceding or not at this point. But you could probably listen to him for a moment here.
You're just supposed to be who you are and be that well. So I played a lot of games, and never once did we stop playing before the clock hit 000. Okay? No matter how many points we were down, we fought to the end. And we see what's going on right now. One of the things that Scott and I have done, which I'm extremely proud of, is this entire campaign, is we have been laser focused on the issues that matter, on the issues that are actually on the ballot this election: inflation, crime, and education. And we have spent a lot of time in areas that Republicans have not gone to in a long while, that they gave up on, quite frankly, which are the same places that are disproportionately affected by these issues. In the urban areas, inflation hurts those residents more than those in the suburbs. crime.
That's Lieutenant Governor candidate Matt Burke apparently giving his concession speech right now. We have to go to a break right now. When we come back, we'll go through the results that we've seen, some of the good news that's out there, and potentially the long-term good news as we continue our live coverage of the GOP Victory Party here at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Alpha News, AM 1280 The Patriot, brought to you.
AM 1280 The Patriot is WWTC Minneapolis St. Paul, FM 107.5, K298CO Minneapolis, Intelligent Radio. AM 1280 The Patriot.
Hear the latest reporting and analysis on the big stories of the day on the Daybreak Insider podcast. It's top-notch reporting from SRN News, along with the sharpest insight from Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, Sebastian Gorka, and the voices of townhall.com. The Daybreak Insider podcast. It's your first look at today's top stories. Available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
At AM1280thepatriot.com, you guide the conversation.
Mike Gallagher, midterm projections.
Here's what Newt said last night.
The two most successful models that use historic data, both of them came in about the same number. They predict 44 to 46 seat gain by the Republicans in the House. Remember, when you get out of California, the Republican generic advantage is enormous. And in fact, in the swing states, even the Washington Post last week reported that Republicans are ahead something like 57 to 35 in the swing districts.
What's your Senate prediction?
+3 to +7 on the Senate, +20 to +50 in the House.
I hope he's right, because it's our only chance to get this country back.
Visit AM1280thepatriot.com. Click on Hosts and search for whatever's on your mind. You'll find a deep archive of intelligent commentary.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
AM 1280 The Patriot is WWTC Minneapolis St. Paul, FM 107.5, K298CO Minneapolis, Intelligent Radio.
This is an SRN News special report. I'm Bob Agnew at the decision desk for SRN News. The Republicans and Democrats in a tight race for control of Congress and governor's offices. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term today in a dominant victory over Democrat Charlie Crist.
DeSantis' win continues a rightward shift for what was once the nation's largest swing state, as voters embraced a governor who reveled in culture war politics and framed his candidacy as a battle against, quote, the woke agenda of liberals.
We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
He gained significant national attention during the start of the coronavirus pandemic through his outspoken opposition to continued lockdowns and to mask and vaccine mandates. Bernie Bennett reporting.
This has been an SRN News special report, Decision 22.
Sideline Sanity with Michelle Tafoya.
NFL MVP, Sean Alexander.
I didn't know anything about Seattle, being a Kentucky kid from our high school, and you'd have kids be like, I'm going to be, Jerry Rice, and somebody would be like, I'm going to be Steve Largent. And I'd be like, but I knew that name. That's the only thing I knew about Seattle. And so I see Steve Largent and Jim Zorn. It was really cool and special to just be mentioned with those guys.
Streaming on Apple Podcasts and SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Charlie Kirk is coming up straight ahead on this Tuesday night, which means it's time to wrap things up on the Patriot. Let's look at that weather forecast, though. 46 for your low tonight. Storms in the mix heading into your Wednesday, where we will see storms and showers, a little bit of both, and a high of 66. And showers with 58 for your low Wednesday night. And then Thursday, expect more showers still to come with 62 for your high. And we'll see some rain and snow in the mix as we head on into your Veterans Day Friday.
AM 1280 The Patriot. Soaking up the sun in Fiji, walking through the sculpture garden in Minneapolis, or standing in awe at the Grand Canyon. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280 The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
A teenage jihadist comes to Christ. Hey, it's Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and I met young Ahmed when I visited the Middle East. His father died fighting for ISIS, his mother was an extremist, and young Ahmed was going to be a suicide bomber by killing himself and others, being sold out to violent Islam. Now, his mother and siblings, they came to Christ, they prayed nonstop for his salvation, and when it came, he was beaten nearly to death by extremists. And when I caught up with him several villages over, I asked, Ahmed, what's your Bible mean to you? And he said, I can look here and see where Jesus says they'll hate you because they hated me, and where Jesus says, I'm with you always. Now listen, having a Bible, it meant everything to him and gave him perspective. And his prayer was for believers there who need God's word to endure and persevere. And I said, Ahmed, those Bibles, they're coming. Listeners, you've sent God's word to more than 1,200 Bible-less persecuted believers. We have 400 to go. We have to wrap up this week. Please pray about it at $5 a Bible and call 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD, or give it am980themission.com and help us finish strong.
Hi, this is Lee with the Kingdom Builders. I've been thinking about all the good things I have in this life. A loving family, a great place to work, and a warm place to sleep. James 1:17 says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. Recently, I tried to count up all the good things I've been given. There are too many to count. I am so thankful for our loving Heavenly Father who has unlimited resources to give good gifts to His children. The greatest of all these gifts is what was accomplished at the cross by the Lord Jesus Christ. God has an incredible, sacrificial love that He would send His only Son to be sin for us that we might become the righteousness of God. Eternal life, now that is a gift. I hope you are able to stop and ponder and thank God for all the good things He gives to each one of us. If you have any comments, you can email me at lee@thekingdombuilders.com. That's lee@thekingdombuilders.com.
Over 50,000 police officers are assaulted on the job each year, leading to injuries and death. This is the reality they deal with when making contact with the public. Another reality is that if someone doesn't comply with a lawful order or uses force against them, police may have to use sufficient force in response to obtain compliance. The use of force is always ugly. Nobody likes it, especially police, and nobody knows how it will turn out. Spread the word. For de-escalation to work, both parties must de-escalate. And de-escalation isn't necessary if there is no escalation. Help police by not escalating. Don't attack or try to disarm an officer, whether it's getting asked a question, getting a citation, or getting arrested. Don't argue, don't resist, don't flee. After the encounter has been resolved is the time to address any complaints. Comply now, complain later. Keep everybody safe. This message brought to you by the National Police Association. To learn more about how to help law enforcement accomplish its goals, visit nationalpolice.org.
Pro-life across America, the Billboard people.
Did you know you were kicking in your mommy's tummy before you were born?
We were?
Yep, I just learned at school that babies move and kick before they're even born.
No wonder we're so good at soccer.
That's right, kids. A preborn baby is moving about and even kicking just 14 weeks from conception. Hello, my name is Marianne Koharski. I'm the director of Pro-Life Across America. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of information and alternatives to abortion, or you'd like to support the work of Pro-Life Across America, please call 1-800-366-7773, 1-800-366-7773, or visit our website at prolifeacrossamerica.org. Pro-Life Across America is non-political and totally educational.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception. Pro-Life Across America, the Billboard people.
Wake up with the Patriots Daybreak Insider. Today's top news stories from a conservative viewpoint. Sign up at am1280thepatriot.com by using the keyword subscribe. That's subscribe at am1280thepatriot.com.
AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News.
The polls are closed and the results are coming in. Live election night coverage on AM 1280 The Patriot is sponsored by North Oaks Financial Services. Now, with color commentary and intelligent perspective on the key races, here's the Northern Alliance Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Mitch Berg, Brad Carlson, Liz Collin, Kendall Qualls, Liz and Kendall, of course, from Alpha News, Brad and I from the Northern Alliance Radio Network. We're brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Thanks a million to them for sponsoring the broadcast today. Couldn't do this without them all here. It'd be an understatement to say the news has not been tops here tonight here. So, with Brad Carlson, anything new? Carrie Lake is the latest bit of dismal news, nationally speaking.
Well, yeah, she was obviously the Republican candidate for governor against the Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, who refused to debate her. And the primary vote tallies in Arizona were a disaster. We heard all of shenanigans in Maricopa County this morning, and yet it looks like the Secretary of State is somehow going to be rewarded with an election victory. 50% reporting. I'm not familiar with Arizona, so I don't know what that means as far as, the 15-point lead, whatever it is.
Yeah,
but
it's roughly a 15-point
but
lead.
someone said on Twitter that it's the hardest thing to do in politics today is oust an incumbent governor. Now, the incumbent was not running in Arizona, let's be clear.
Right.
But it looked like there was an opportunity for some Democrat governors to fall by the wayside, and that's not happening. So
swing and a miss here in
the
Minnesota.
red wave is seems to be fizzling. So now we have to pin our hopes on the U.S. House to be the one backstop against the Biden agenda here.
Liz Collin.
Here at GOP headquarters, we're listening to Mei Zhang and her concession speech. She doesn't seem to be here in person. From Congressional District 4, conceding to Betty McCollum here tonight.
Kendall Qualls?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are disappointed. We were expecting a wave, and it's barely a ripple. So I think we see a lot of people processing this information, and what does it mean, and how do we interpret that here in the state?
Well, let's process it this way. Let's look at the good news. It's hard to think here. We were expecting a wave. We were expecting to maybe flip some of the state constitutional office seats, and it looks like it's going to be, let's just say, a Red Sea level miracle. If Jim Schultz or Ryan Wilson get there, it's looking difficult right now. But let's look at some good news. And yes, there is some good news to be had in there. For starters, if you're looking for some clarity mission for the Republican Party for 2 years from now in the next presidential election, and I say this with all due respect to my Trump-supporting friends, it's been a good inflection point for fans of Ron DeSantis in particular, as we look at potential candidates to run for president in 2 years against Joe Biden here, Brad Carlson.
Yeah, if Joe Biden even runs, and that's another dynamic to this. If it looks like the Democrats are going to hang on to the Senate. We haven't seen anything in Nevada, so we don't know how that goes. So it's still a possibility that they could flip Nevada, and Herschel Walker has a slight lead in Georgia. So still a possibility Republicans can get it. But hypothetically, let's say the Democrats keep the Senate, which seems more likely than not, and they hang on to the House, which at a non-zero chance they do. How do the Democrats in good conscience say, hey, let's get rid of this president that was in office and his first midterm, he hung on to Congress? How do they thread that needle is what I'm curious to see. And so it'll be good blood sport, if nothing else, Mitch Burr.
Yeah, if nothing else, Joe Biden comes out with a really small victory that essentially means that he can carry on with the most damaging parts of his platform for the next 2 years here, and potentially leave us Republicans.
I think, Kendall, you brought up a good point about these new Republican voters in Florida. Some of them we know, some of them are family and friends, essentially, and that's what I'm seeing on social media right now. We're moving. Like, this was sort of like the last gasp for many people in Minnesota. Like, how do we tell what the future looks like now?
Yeah, Florida had registered 600,000 new voters, actually Republican voters, 600,000. And you can't imagine a lot of that coming from northern states, one of those Minnesota. But what's interesting about this dynamic in Joe Biden's term, because typically you see a counter movement in the midterms.
Yep.
He has less of a counter movement than Obama did, and that shellacking that Obama had.
That's in part in the Republicans' defense because he had no coattails in 2020. He did not bring as big of a majority into Congress with him when he won in 2020 as Barack Obama did. He had less to lose. Not to try and make this look like a particularly good news evening for Republicans here, but Joe Biden had...
I always like how you get the positive side of things.
Yeah.
He should have had a shellacking this time around.
Yes.
For whatever reason, he did not. And again, this goes back to we have to do an evaluation internally in the party.
Yeah.
Here's what it simply means. candidate quality still matters. At the end of the day, candidate quality still matters. There was not enough that the Republicans were offering in the minds of voters to kick out the Democrats, who were very vulnerable. And I think that's what we have to look at. Yeah, the first term, or the first midterms of a president's first term always goes against his party. But you still have to put up quality candidates. And what we're seeing with Trump handpicked candidates in the U.S. Senate, J.D. Vance did fantastic in Ohio, but Ohio's become a reliably red state.
Right.
And by the way, there were 2 Republican-held U.S. House seats in Ohio that flipped to the Democrats.
Oh, lovely.
Weren't expecting that.
No.
So all of a sudden you're looking at handpicked candidates. Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania looks like he's on track to lose. Blake Masters in Arizona looks like he's on track to lose. Adam Laxalt in Nevada, we have no idea. Herschel Walker could not ride the coattails of Brian Kemp. The point is, if you get non-controversial, just competent, boring candidates, Republicans easily pick up 5 to 6 Senate seats easily. So I'm sorry, and I'm to bounce off what you were saying, Mitch Berg, regarding our Trump-loving listeners. This is a repudiation of Trump. There's no other way to look at it, in my opinion.
I don't think there's any way around that. Kendall Qualls, Liz Collin, any?
I think what's interesting is just the Biden low approval rating. Has that just not translated enough, or is there so much focus on this approval rating that it didn't matter this time around?
That is a great question. And for starters, I mean, the only numbers I've seen about Biden's approval rating here in Minnesota were Trafalgar's. And as I said during the last segment last hour, the big casualty tonight is Trafalgar's turnout model, Trafalgar's special sauce, which seems to have hit its shelf date tonight in a big way, Brad Carlson.
Yeah, sorry to switch subjects here, pouring over some state House races. Incumbent Republican, the caucus of one, Eric Mortensen, shellacked by Brad Tabke in District 54A. There's only 2 precincts left, but Tabke has a 1,300 vote lead. Wow. Tag it and bag it. Round 3 between Tabke and Mortensen goes to Tabke. Eric Mortensen pretty much alienated everybody down in St. Paul. So privately, I don't think there are going to be a lot of Republicans crying over that one. And so Eric Mortensen goes down to defeat. And again, it wasn't a good sign when some of his mailers, because he had a primary opponent, some of his mailers were going to his old district, parts of his old district. It's like, there was redistricting, Eric. You need to get some mailers in your new district here. He survived his primary, but obviously not the general election. So I haven't poured over the numbers yet. I don't see a path for the Republicans to take over the Minnesota House at this point. There's some races, classic Dakota County, have not even had any precincts reporting, so we don't know what that will yield.
And yet, at this point, perhaps, well, we don't know if it's really good news yet because, as usual, CD2's election vote counting is just glacial. They've been holding between 94 and 97 precincts out of 257 for an hour now. Literally, 3 precincts have come in the last hour. But as of now, Tyler Kistner still with a 5-point and change lead over Angie Craig. So there is potentially, God willing, with a tailwind, at least a little bit of potential good news out there. Maybe
that's one we've got to watch because the last time this happened, last cycle,
very true.
At this time, he was leading at night.
Yes,
woke up the next morning and he lost.
And a bunch of House seats in the second CD with it as well here. That we went to bed that night thinking, okay, we're looking good there. So yeah, good. Well, Mr. Buzzkill, thank you very much.
Well, we just have to watch it.
Absolutely.
We'll watch it. Oh, yeah.
Because if we can flip that one, we're 5 of 8 in the state of 5 of 8 congressional districts.
Absolutely.
And it says something that the inclination is there. We just need the right candidate.
It's going to be a nail biter. Absolutely. Kendall Qualls, Liz Collin, Brad Carlson, Mitch Berg. We'll take a quick break right now. We'll look at some more of the state results when we come back. This is the Northern Alliance Radio Network live at the GOP Victory Party. Yes, we're still calling it that. What the heck? Let's enjoy it on AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Dr. Gorka here, and I want to talk to you for a minute about 100% drug-free Relief Factor. I've been taking Relief Factor for years now to help me deal with pain in my body. My wife takes it as well. The reason we tell everyone we know about it is simple. We found it really works to help our bodies fight off the inflammation that causes aches and pains. Whether it's the pain of injuries you've sustained or just the natural pains from the mileage over the years, Relief Factor can help. I've never looked back. Almost 70% of the more than 500,000 people who have tried Relief Factor end up ordering more. That's because it works for them the way it works for me. Isn't it time for you to get out of pain? Your first step to becoming pain-free should be to order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of only $19.95. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF to find out more about this offer. That's ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. Feel the difference.
Hey, Charlie Kirk here. When it comes to liberals in Congress, there's no way they would accept term limits on themselves. And yet they're now fighting tooth and nail to impose term limits on Supreme Court justices. Term limits for thee, but not for me. Sounds completely hypocritical. Of course it is. But since when has that ever been a problem for the left? They do whatever it takes to seize more power, even if it means purging the Supreme Court of its most experienced justices. To no one's surprise, their new court purging scheme would remove long-serving conservative justices like the wonderful Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. Then they would be replaced with new justices who would rubber stamp their radical agenda. Since Democrats are working hard to pass court purging with term limits, we need to work even harder to stop it, or the Supreme Court as we know it will never be the same. If you care about integrity of the Supreme Court and don't want to see it taken over by political hacks, visit SupremeCoup.com. That is SupremeCoup.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
My wife and I have been health nuts for 35, 40 years. I've always been, literally biking, swimming, skiing, yada, yada, yada. Always looking for something different. The day I took this stuff, that following morning I woke up and I went, whoa. It was like the missing link. It was just fantastic, and we haven't stopped taking it since. My wife feels basically the same way. It's the single thing that changed us and convinced us that this stuff is the best thing going.
Oh, it's done a good job. I've got a lot more energy. I'm 78 years old, trying to stay alive, and I don't eat right. This helps me get better because I get a balanced diet, and that's very important. I love Balance of Nature.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code CHARLIE.
AM 1280, The Patriot. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-457-9220. 800-457-9220. 800-457-9220. That's 800-457-9220.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I start every day by reading through the stories at Daybreak Insider. In just 10 minutes, I can zip through 10 stories that matter, 10 stories that help me start my day and help shape where I go with the Mike Gallagher Show. You and I know the mainstream media is filling the airwaves with a left-wing take on the news of the day.
This is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
It's critical to find a news source that tells the truth. Well, that's Daybreak Insider. Daybreak Insider is that source. I get it in my mailbox every day. It helps shape the stories I bring to you. It's a look at today's most compelling stories, how they are covered by the media, and provides responses from key conservatives in media and politics. Over 250,000 people get Daybreak Insider by email daily, and it's available to you at no cost. Go to daybreakinsider.com and simply plug in your email. That's daybreakinsider.com. In 5 minutes, you will be the most informed person in the office. That's daybreakinsider.com.
Did you know that the Patriot mobile app can do more than just stream your favorite shows? Here's cool feature number 1. You can set an alarm on our app that will automatically start streaming the Patriot at whatever time you decide. It's easy. Just open the menu in the upper left-hand corner, select Alarm, and choose a time. You can set it to wake you up in the morning with Hugh Hewitt or any of your favorite hosts. Download the free AM 1280 The Patriot app today.
Welcome back, Twin Cities and World, AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News, live at the GOP Victory Party at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Kendall Qualls from Alpha News, Jack Tomczak, the new guy from the Northern Alliance Radio Network, Brad Carlson, the closer. My name is Mitch Berg, the headliner edition of the Northern Alliance Radio Network. Big victors tonight, us, because we're going to have a couple of years worth of stuff to talk about, all four of us here, and Liz. We've
oh, yes.
Never-ending font of material. I mean, I hate to say the GOP's misfortune here in Minnesota is our gain, for better or worse here. That's looking for the silver lining here, Kendall Qualls. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But this is also a catalyst for the Republican Party to pull its act together, quite frankly. You were talking about this during the break, and we were talking about it before the break. I mean, this is a repudiation of Donald Trump nationwide. I can't think of other than J.D. Vance and maybe Herschel Walker.
Well, that's going to a runoff, it's looking like, regardless.
Yeah. And so we'll talk a little bit in a moment or two. We have a guest coming up here shortly here, but let's talk when we come back in a few moments here about the opportunity this provides the Minnesota Republican Party. Let's go to Liz Collin out on the floor.
We are ready to go here. We have Dr. Scott Jensen with us right now. But I guess first of all, just what do you say? We just heard your message. There's a lot of disappointment in this room tonight, and I think across the state. But what is your message to Minnesotans?
We had a chance to help shape the conversation. I think in this century, I think there have been 8 people that have had their names on the ballot in November to run for governor in one of the 2 major parties. Of those 8 people, I think there'll be 3 winners and 5 losers, or 4 winners and 4 losers, depending upon the outcome tonight. Sometimes in losing, and I'm not there yet, but sometimes in losing, you do get to shape the conversation. You do get to call out the winner and say, you need to do better here, here, here. I do think the irony, though, Liz, is that we spend so much of our time trying to focus on who gets hurt the worst by out-of-control inflation and who gets hurt the worst when we don't fund kids and don't give kids opportunities. And we say, well, you live in this zip code, so therefore you are confined to a mediocre education that doesn't meet your needs. And then we see a city crippled by crime and carjackings and lawlessness. And those same places say, we're going to vote for the status quo. It could be disheartening in some situations, but I think that, Liz, we're at such a critical place that I don't think we get to be disheartened. I think we have to say, we're in the arena, we're going to take the slings and arrows, and sometimes those slings and arrows might be losing when you wanted to win. But I don't think we get to choose to go back up into the spectator seats and say, well, I did my deal, I'm done. There's no catharsis here. This is a constant moving forward of what does it mean to live politically, which to me means live in community with one another. Maybe we haven't hit our bottom yet. Maybe it's going to get worse.
Well, I know that you've told your story. I've heard it many times before about this wasn't something you wanted to do. It wasn't on the bucket list, but it was a prayer between your wife and yourself, mulling over this decision for many months. And I'm sure there can't be any regrets at this point, because you really did rally so many people. I mean, a kid from Sleepy Eye, we've talked about it, a kid from Worthington. You see that crowd last night in Delano packed into a barn on a Monday night out the door. So you just must be so happy for all the support and really pleased with what happened here.
Minnesotans are our best resource. Minnesotans are marvels. The whole process has been exhilarating, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful that people listened to my voice and said, "Gee, we like what you're saying," because I don't necessarily color inside the lines. Sometimes I don't even see the lines. So whatever happens tonight, no regrets, not a one. It's been a gift to Mary and I, and my wife is a rock star.
That she is, and you are too, sir. Thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Liz.
And again, that was Dr. Scott Jensen. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Liz Collin. Thanks as always. It's been great doing this hybrid radio TV thing, Brad Carlson. I've never done this before. This is a hoot.
Yeah, I've never scrubbed the top of my head or my forehead more than when I have to appear on camera. So I've
never exfoliated like this before.
Right.
Let's take a quick break because there may be something to watch here. This may be not a total loss of an evening here.
We need something, man.
We'll
Give us
that out in a
throw
moment.
a dog a bone here, Mitch Berg.
We'll see what we can do. Let's take a quick break. Northern Alliance Radio Network and Alpha News live at the DoubleTree. What am I talking about? There's a cliffhanger. Oh yeah, I'm leaving you with one. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. Charlie Kirk here for my friends at Lone Star Transfer. You've heard me tell you timeshares are becoming a thing of the past. If you are stuck in one, you don't have to be. Lone Star Transfer can help. For well over a decade, they have successfully helped over 18,000 owners legally and permanently get out of their timeshare nightmare. They also have the only timeshare disposal company I personally endorse. Lone Star Transfer is simply the best in the business. And with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau and thousands of 5-star testimonials, their clients want you to know they are the only company you can trust. They are a family-owned company that has earned a reputation for delivering first-class customer service. They guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing in a specific time frame. With increasing assessments and maintenance fees, there has never been a better time to get out of your timeshare. Call today to receive a free no-obligation consultation at 844-310-3116.
This is an SRN News special report. I'm Bob Agnew at the decision desk for SRN News. The Republicans and Democrats in a tight race for control of Congress and governor's offices. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis won re-election to a second term today in a dominant victory over Democrat Charlie Crist.
DeSantis' win continues a rightward shift for what was once the nation's largest swing state, as voters embraced a governor who reveled in culture war politics and framed his candidacy as a battle against, quote, the woke agenda of liberals.
We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
He gained significant national attention during the start of the coronavirus pandemic through his outspoken opposition to continued lockdowns and to mask and vaccine mandates. Bernie Bennett reporting.
This has been an SRN News special report, Decision 22.
AM 1280, The Patriot. Salmon fishing in Alaska, at an amusement park in Green Bay, or taking a stroll through Loring Park. We're where you are. Stream AM 1280, The Patriot at Odyssey.com or with the free Odyssey app.
In these volatile markets, it's critical to have a financial team that communicates with you on how to adjust your portfolio and capitalize on opportunities. If all you hear is stay the course, or you don't hear from your advisor at all, contact Mark Miller and his team at North Oaks Financial Services for a complimentary second opinion. You wouldn't have major surgery without a second opinion. Your investment strategy should have a second opinion too. Search for Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services. That's Mark Miller, North Oaks Financial Services.
We noticed we had a leak in our roof. Hey, I'm Brenda from Stillwater, Minnesota. We noticed some water staining in our ceiling by our chimney. This is our first time working with JTR Roofing. A close friend had recommended them and had a great experience. They ended up replacing our roof and performed the work on our chimney. I would recommend JTR Roofing because they were reliable, friendly, there were no hidden costs in their quotes, and the craftsmanship was outstanding. Not only did they do an outstanding job on our home, but also they support the community. They've had a good reputation in the 30 years that they've been in business. And just overall, it was just a wonderful experience working with the company. I was absolutely satisfied with the work. Absolutely. We're thinking about having our windows replaced, and we will be calling JTR.
Go to jtrroofinginc.com. That's jtrroofinginc.com.
What does it mean to be a Christian woman in our current culture? How does your faith in Christ relate to the world around you? At times, being a Christian can seem like an overwhelming task in today's busy and challenging landscape. That's why you should visit ibelieve.com, a site designed for Christian women. Whether you're looking for insight, conversation starters for your church group, or just an uplifting message, you'll find it at ibelieve.com. Visit ibelieve.com, a division of Salem Media Group.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. BearingArms.com covers Second Amendment issues, self-defense, the latest gear, and more. That's BearingArms.com.
AM 1280 The Patriot and alphanews.org live streaming on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the AM 1280 The Patriot website. And, of course, live streaming old school style at AM 1280 The Patriot, FM 107.5, and AM1280ThePatriot.com, the live stream. So, it's been a parade of calumny ever since the first hour here tonight, and yet, and I'm not digging hard for good news here, I'm just saying maybe we got some. First of all, about half the results in CD2 are in right now, and as of with 108 precincts reporting out of 257, Tyler Kistner's pulled ahead to a 6-point lead right now. Now, CD2 has broken our hearts before. We all know this.
Yes.
But it's we're about halfway through the race, maybe just a shade under halfway through the race, and Tyler Kistner's up by 6 points. It's better than the alternative. The other two things that I wanted to point out here, and this is me doing math in my head on the fly, which could be disastrous, but as I was alluding before the break, the cliffhanger is this. With 65% of the vote in, just about 2/3 of the vote in here, Keith Ellison is ahead of Jim Schultz by under 5 points, and Julie Blaha leads Ryan Wilson by under 4 at this point.
3.5.
3.5 points. Oh, it's even picked up.
Yeah.
So it was just shade under 4 the last I looked.
And Ellison leads Schultz by 4.04%.
So this has tightened up even since we took the break. So
yes.
Let's not give up hope of winning an executive office here. And let's remember, but just briefly here, the votes that are yet out there right now, Ramsey County has come in uncharacteristically fast. So while CD2 may still break our hearts, CD1 is about 70% in, and the 7 and the 8 are both right around half right now. So there's a fair number of Republican votes to be had out there. So keep your fingers crossed, double-jointed over and over. Kendall Qualls, you were trying to get on here.
You made the point. The votes that we're waiting to come in are traditionally hard Republican votes.
Right.
And that'll be in their favor.
The idea, by the way, Jack, Brad, and Kendall Qualls, the idea that during the first 3 or 4 times we did these broadcasts, that anyone would look at CD8 and say, these are hard Republican votes.
Right.
I would have said, I want a bottle of whatever you're chugging there, Kendall Qualls. And yet here we are, Jack Tomczak.
I was going to ask, you talk about Ramsey County turning in early, and I was going to ask if St. Louis County has turned in yet. Because they're very late.
You're right.
But they're also historically on the other side, and I don't know if that has changed.
Yeah.
Is St. Louis County still
St. Louis County
there?
is still out there. Yep.
Okay.
The last of the Finnish socialist holdouts are still holed up in their cabins up there with their dried raccoon meat, voting DFL. Did I just say that? It's late.
Hey,
I need coffee.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, and percentage-wise, there's about 65% of the precincts that have reported in the 7th, so there's 35% remaining. So there's a good number of votes to be had.
Yeah.
And like you said, CD5 is all in. CD4, about 90% of those precincts are in. So yeah, there are still some votes to be had. So those numbers are definitely going to tighten up.
Yeah. Will it be enough? I mean, like I said,
it's not over.
It's not over,
and that's what we need. That's all we were asking for right now.
Do you guys ever play basketball?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not very well, but
it sounds like we're doing the late in the fourth quarter math on. Well, there's 5 minutes left. If we score a bucket every 25 seconds, then we're not going to lose.
I'm doing F1 racing, actually. It's like
Okay.
if you pit and get tires and skip the gas and maintain a speed of X, you can catch the leader here. That's kind of where I'm at here right now.
Kim Crockett walked by and shouted to us that she's not done.
She's not done?
So
Not done with what?
Don't call it.
she's not giving up.
Here's the thing, when you look at the performance of Ryan as well as Schultz in the other statewide races, and even some of the congressional races, what you're seeing is Minnesotans will listen and will vote, and they'll split the ballot on a favorable candidate. It says something about the Republican Party. What do we need to start doing differently as we move forward in our process and our candidate selection? And that's the time for us to have that that conversation later. But it says that we do have a message that resonates, and these guys are proving it.
Yeah, and with a little bit of luck, a little more resonance will happen here. Again, with 70% in right now, so there's been another surge of votes coming in here. Jim Schultz is 4 points, almost exactly behind Keith Ellison here, so fingers crossed here. And we have Ryan Wilson within 3, actually just outside of 3 points from Julie Blaha. So it's going to be a nail-biter here, folks. Yeah. And we'll have to see where these CD2 votes are coming in here.
Oh, gee, what a surprise. Nothing on Dakota County in the Minnesota House or Minnesota Senate or CD2, huh?
Yeah.
A rarity that Dakota County is not got its results in.
Yeah, they're just shade under half, right around 40% of their votes in right now. CD2 showing, of course, its own particular flakiness. Almost 4% of the vote going to Paula Overby, the legal marijuana party candidate who died a month ago. Yeah. That's, by the way, sympathies to her family.
Well, and how eerie that essentially the same thing happened in 2020, where you had a third-party candidate pass away before the general election.
What would Nick Coleman say? Connect the dots, people.
Well, yeah.
Just if somebody approaches you to run as a third-party candidate in CD2 in 2 years, say no.
Run away. That's right. So, any other results nationwide here, Brad Carlson? It looks like Georgia's Senate's going to go to a runoff. What could possibly go wrong there?
Oh, God. Well, this was my concern, that if the Republican majority hinged on the runoff, I mean, I was rejoicing today. There are 2 things I love about Election Day. One is the absolute honor and privilege I can to make my voice heard at the ballot box. The second is we're done with those insufferable political ads.
Yes.
Well, guess what? We're going to get another month of these if the majority in the Senate is predicated upon a runoff in Georgia. So, buckle up, folks.
The fundraising emails are not going anywhere here, ladies and gentlemen.
Georgia's like it's a record as far as spending. Was it in Georgia instead of Georgia on the Senate race?
I believe so.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
It's definitely right up there. But it's so looking at the House right now, Republicans are up 2 right now so far in the United States House race here right now. Do we have a count as to where we're at in the Minnesota House? Are we going to flip the Minnesota House? It doesn't look like we're going to.
I don't think we're going to. Of the 17 that I predicted absolute victory on,
yes,
we've won none of them.
Really? Ooh,
none.
And how many have we lost?
I'm aware of the one incumbent, Don Raleigh.
Yeah, he lost.
He lost. Yeah.
Apart from that, I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we can take a look.
My pieces of paper are not updating themselves.
So they're only a little slower than the Secretary of State's website at this point. We have that going for us here.
Confidence interval on that.
And of course the victory cries from the Walls campaign, democracy is alive and well. It's like, shoving this microphone down my throat, gag. So,
well, there was never really a question whether or not the democracy was alive.
I know, but to these people, it was
that was the campaign message.
Yeah, that absolutely was. I mean, if we basically heard from the President of the United States, you don't vote for our side to preserve democracy, you're against
76% of the vote in. Ryan Wilson was within 2.5 points.
Okay, it's happening.
This could very well happen. And Jim Schultz is just outside of 3 points behind Keith Ellison.
Okay.
This
Same
is
percentage, 76%.
Yeah, 76% in.
Yeah.
So I'll have to do some math in my head again, or perhaps if we have an accountant in the room, they could.
Where we had one of those.
I don't know
where
where
would we
you
find them at such a late
it's
hour.
It's hard to find accountants that work 24 hours on broadcast schedules here. But we could. I'm thinking the whole idea if Wilson and Schultz can get somewhere close to 60% of the votes each on the way out for the rest of the evening here, they got a chance of tipping this thing.
Yes.
With any luck at all here right now. And this CD2, once again, let's just see if there's anything else. Nope, nothing moving in CD2. The most annoying part of election night every single year, this is our 10th year of doing these, and CD2 is always gives us a night exactly like this.
What precinct within CD2? I mean, is it always the same precincts?
Dakota County.
Dakota County always drags, and that's going to be interesting. So that may make things a little more difficult for Tyler Kistner, quite frankly. Looks like, they're still calling Fetterman and Oz too early to call. Don't know where the numbers are shaking out for them right now, but...
I can look that up. I've been refreshing Real Clear Politics constantly. Right now, Pennsylvania, 88% reporting. It's 0.9%. And they've already launched a preemptive strike within the last week. It's like, well, we probably won't know election night. We may not even know until later that week.
Right.
So we're not going to know anything. Look, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and I forget which other state. I think Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They don't count their early votes or absentee votes they don't canvass them prior to election day. Yeah. It's like, whereas Florida and Georgia does. Hello, what were the earliest states that we got results on tonight? So come on, people. Florida and Georgia, if there is a bright spot for Republicans, that is the standard. That is the model that you look at right there.
By the way, one other point. We have to give the Democrats some kudos for this, because what were their big spoiler candidates? Kerry Lake for governor, Don Baldock for Senate, the ones that swept to their primary victories on a wave of
Kerry Lake's running for Arizona governor.
That's what I meant. Kerry Lake, Arizona governor, and Don Baldock, New Hampshire Senate.
Yes.
Both of them, quote, MAGA candidates, floated to their primary victories in both states, in both races, by a flood of Democrat money. By gosh, it worked.
Yeah, that's just it. And that was the most hilarious thing, is Democrats fretting over democracy ended if these Republicans got elected. Well, how did they get one step closer to winning a general election? I get it. People still have to cast votes for them, but if you prop them up like that, it gives them more of an opportunity to get more of the message out. So, yeah, but, it backfired on them when they propped up Trump in 2016, but apparently not this time around. So, kudos to them, I guess.
As of right now, with 76% of the vote in, I'm not sure if this has changed, but yes, Ryan Wilson is just outside 2.5 points behind Julie Blaha, and Keith Ellison is just a tad over just under 3.5 points ahead of Jim Schultz. So,
3.34. Sound like Raymond, definitely 3.4.
We have
2.76% lead for Julie Blaha. Julie Blaha is now under 50%.
So this is doable for Ryan Wilson.
Yes.
And boy, will he have his work cut out for him. I have a hunch if he does pull this off, the state auditor's office and potentially the attorney general's office, it could happen. It could happen, ladies and gentlemen, still, potentially. It's going to look like the U.S. Embassy in the movie Argo, with the shredding and the files burning. We have a few minutes till a break here yet. So I say we have a few minutes to go here. So we're going to look around, see how we're doing as far as the Minnesota House goes. We have House and Senate, the Minnesota State Legislature. We had some fond hope. Say again?
Break time right now?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break, yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. We are Kendall Qualls, Jack Tomczak, Brad Carlson, Mitch Berg, Liz Collin live at the GOP victory party at the the Doubletree in St. Louis Park, brought to you by North Oaks Financial Services. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time. My wife and I have been health nuts for 35, 40 years. I've always been, literally biking, swimming, skiing, yada, yada, yada. Always looking for something different. The day I took this stuff, that following morning I woke up and I went, whoa. It was like the missing link. It was just fantastic, and we haven't stopped taking it since. My wife feels basically the same way. It's the single thing that changed us and convinced us that this stuff is the best thing going.
Oh, it's done a good job. I've got a lot more energy. I'm 78 years old, trying to stay alive, and I don't eat right. This helps me get better because I get a balanced diet, and that's very important. I love Balance of Nature.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get free shipping. And don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code CHARLIE.
AM 1280, The Patriot. As Winston Churchill said, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, and hope. Hi, this is Andrew Parker with the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. Join me every Sunday at 4 p.m. for the Victory Hour, when we will talk politics, Israel, and the law.
The Victory Hour, Sunday afternoons at 4, here on The Patriot.
I'm impressed with my attorney, Bernie.
When your house needs siding, roofing, or windows, you can sit through 3 long-winded sales calls, or you can schedule a short meeting with me and receive quotes from multiple contractors by email a few days later. Hi, I'm Ryan with My 3 Quotes. I've had customers contact me recently saying, I've already received a couple bids. Is it too late to get in on your process? The answer is a huge no. It's not too late. In fact, if you already have bids, I can prove to you how great the prices are through My 3 Quotes. I've recently worked with homeowners who received quotes from one of the biggest window companies in town, and they were floored by the prices. I was able to get quotes for them through another major brand with better warranties, better ratings, and best of all, save them thousands of dollars. If you want to make sure you're not paying too much, give me a call and I'll stop by for a short meeting. It's free and there's no obligation to buy. Set up an appointment today at getmy3quotes.com. That's the number 3, getmy3quotes.com.
A teenage jihadist comes to Christ. Hey, it's Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and I met young Ahmed when I visited the Middle East. His father died fighting for ISIS, his mother was an extremist, and young Ahmed was going to be a suicide bomber by killing himself and others, being sold out to violent Islam. Now, his mother and siblings, they came to Christ, they prayed nonstop for his salvation, and when it came, he was beaten nearly to death by extremists. And when I caught up with him several villages over, I asked, Ahmed, what's your Bible mean to you? And he said, I can look here and see where Jesus says they'll hate you because they hated me, and where Jesus says, I'm with you always. Now listen, having a Bible, it meant everything to him and gave him perspective. And his prayer was for believers there who need God's word to endure and persevere. And I said, Ahmed, those Bibles, they're coming. Listeners, you've sent God's word to more than 1,200 Bible-less persecuted believers. We have 400 to go. We have to wrap up this week. Please pray about it at $5 a Bible and call 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD, or give it am980themission.com and help us finish strong.
I'm sure glad you're my sister, Addie.
Yep, you're my best buddy.
Mom says you were their little surprise. What would we do without you?
Well, you'll probably get your own gum.
Yeah, that's true, but you're worth it.
Hello, my name is Carrie. I work with Pro-Life Across America, the Billboard people. If you know someone who is pregnant or in need of alternatives to abortion or needs post-abortion assistance or would like to support the life-saving work of Pro-Life Across America, please call 1-800-366-7773 or check us out online at prolifeacrossamerica.org. Pro-Life Across America, educational, non-political, and tax-deductible.
A baby's heart is beating 18 days from conception.
Pro-Life Across America, the Billboard people.
AM 1280 The Patriot and Alpha News live with on-the-scene coverage at the GOP Victory Party at the Doubletree in St. Louis Park. Liz Collin and Kendall Qualls from Alpha News, Brad Carlson, Jack Tomzak, Mitch Berg from the Northern Alliance Radio Network. Broadcast brought to you one more time, and I couldn't thank them enough, by North Oaks Financial Services.
Absolutely. Thank you, folks.
Always a pleasure. These are always, even when it's not a great night for Republicans, these are always a blast to do. And it's not been a great night for Republicans. The final whammy came in just before the break, perhaps, maybe, hopefully the final whammy. Dakota County came in, and Angie Craig jumped from 6 points behind to 4 points ahead.
I guess we should have anticipated that, but
Yeah, no, and that's with 90% of the precincts in. There's not enough votes out there for Tyler Kistner to get him over the top.
And then looking at, I just lost it here, just about right at 80% of precincts reporting statewide. Jim Schultz is now less than 3 points behind Keith Ellison, 2.9% behind Keith Ellison to be exact.
And Ryan Wilson is
2.3% behind Julie Blaha.
The gap has been closing.
Every precinct that reports, the gap narrows in each of those races.
So it is, and I have to run the numbers. I'm not going to have time to run the numbers. So let's just say that as we end this broadcast this evening, there is a chance. There's a chance for Ryan Wilson and Jim Schultz to pull this off here.
And we talked about this the last segment, Mitch. And the precincts that we're waiting to hear from are traditionally conservative Republican districts, right?
We're talking precincts in the first, some of the first, many still in the 7th and 8th congressional districts.
Yeah.
The worst of the second seems to be out of the way, so that's probably the worst of the bad news with a little bit of luck. Fingers crossed. I've been wrong a bunch here tonight. But there is a shot here, folks, and we'll have to be watching this tomorrow night. So the takeaway from this evening is the citizens of Minnesota have chosen riots, crime, inflation, lockdowns, carnage in the long-term cares, and educational achievement gap. They seem to be fine with that so far. Kendall Qualls?
Well, what happened to the optimistic Mitch that we had from last segment?
He went away.
Yeah. No, I think more than anything, I think because of the performance of both Ryan and Schultz, it is, do we have the right people and do we have the right messaging? Because their message works and those candidacies are still in play.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think that's kind of been the theme of the last hour or so as we've been poring over these results and certainly not seeing the red tsunami or even red wave or red ripple that we expected. Candidate quality matters. That's exactly right, Kendall. And Jim Schultz and Ryan Wilson both ran very substantive, no-nonsense campaigns. Some even could say boring but competent, and we'll take that. This is what we need if we're going to pick off some of these statewide races.
We don't know yet. I haven't heard anything yet as to where the Minnesota GOP came in terms of the House and Senate right now. We'd hope to expand control in the Senate and flip the House. I don't think we came close to either one. I haven't even had a chance to start counting races here.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of poring over some of the results, it looks like we'll keep because the Senate makeup was 34 Republicans, 31 Democrats, and 2 independents.
Right.
Now, it looks like the 2 independent seats, Bach and Tomasoni, are going to go Republican.
Right.
And the Republicans, so that would give them 36, but then there were a couple that flipped to the DFL.
Right.
So I think Republicans may hang on with a 34-33 majority when it's all said and done.
Oh, good, a 1-seat majority.
We've been down that road before, but this is just off the top of my head as I've been poring over some of these results. But it seemed like the Abler race, if the DFL could get that, they would have a legit shot to get the Senate. But because Abler survived in new Senate District 35, it would appear that the Republicans are going to hang on to a very scant majority again. We don't have time to pour over them all, but that's kind of my gut feeling at this point.
I'll throw out a silver lining as well at Alpha News. It means we have a lot more material to dig into. So these folks give us a lot of material that the mainstream media has frankly ignored for years.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, that's our big takeaway tonight too. I mean, bad times for Republicans are good times for conservative talk radio, and certainly we have a mission for the next 2 years here. Kendall Qualls, you as a party activist, certainly are seeing that mission right now. What do you see the GOP's mission?
Well, here's the scenario. We have a party, the DFL, that wants to replicate what they're doing in California. but we don't have the makeup of what they have in California. We have congressional districts that are evenly split. They don't have that in California. So we're not the same character as a California. And if they continue to drive that whole California agenda, it's going to put more and more opportunities for the Republican Party.
Absolutely. By the way, we'd be remiss if we got through the whole evening without Liz Cullen plugging the book.
Thank you. I wish more people would have read it, Mitch, before the election, I think. But it's called They're Lying, The Media, the Left, and the Death of George Floyd, and it's on thelieexposed.com, but it's been an Amazon bestseller for the last couple weeks.
You know, you should have your people call the Northern Alliance's people to come and chat with us some weekend afternoons here. Absolutely.
We'll love to do it. That's what I'm talking about. Endless material, you guys.
That's right. Absolutely. More power to all of us here. So we're heading up towards the end of the show here right now. And as we, I'm going to hit refresh one more time and see if we can get a little bit closer. Right now, Jim Schultz is 2.9 points behind Keith Ellison, and Ryan Wilson is within just about 2 points behind. Thank you all for joining us, though. Liz Collin, Kendall Qualls, Brad Carlson, Mitch Berg, Jack Tomzek. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Look, you know America's in trouble. Crime and inflation keep on rising, and people are very worried about the future, especially our seniors, understandably. But we cannot lose hope. If you are a senior,